G'day guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome to Rukshan On X. I hope my audio is coming through nice and clear. As you can see, new microphone, new little, format as well for the show, and comments on the side, on this side actually, comments on this side. Bit more of a widescreen aspect as well. I've changed things a little bit around, so let me know if you're watching and the audio is coming through nice and clear. It is a big news day today, and there's news actually ongoing as I'm coming to this stream tonight. So I realize that there is massive news happening in the world, and probably most of the people that watch this show might be tuned into that news as well. But if you're here tonight with me, thank you for joining in. Mate, thank you. I appreciate the super chat baseline, Benny. Audio is beautiful, Gap Media says. Thank you so much. One for the road. Thanks, mate. Again, I want to actually say I've managed to get this road and upgrade my equipment, increase the quality of this production thanks to the contributions that you guys make via super chat. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. As I said, historic news day. It's actually happening right now, a lot of this news. So I do have it loaded up because I don't want you guys to miss out on any of this as well, especially if Trump speaks in the Knesset. So I do have it all loaded up. So if I can switch to that later, I can switch to it now just to show you what's happening there. But we'll come back to this later and we can watch Trump speaking especially. But right now we have a lot of standing ovations happening. So I guess historic day, all the hostages have been returned after 2 years to Israel. The 20 remaining live hostages, at least, the ones that are deceased, they still are yet to be returned. But we are seeing a prisoner swap happening as well. And this is in the Knesset. Donald Trump is there. He's meant to speak later on. So I'll bring you that. I'll see what the audio is right now as well. And maybe we can get some of this as well. But I think it's just standing ovations and a lot of acknowledgements of people. Let's have a listen in.
Thank you guys for everything that you have done to bring about this day. Ambassador of the United States to Israel, my dear friend and my absolute favorite rock star, Mike Huckabee.
So yeah, a lot of acknowledgements happening right there. But I think when Trump speaks, especially, or if Benjamin Netanyahu speaks, or the Speaker of the House, if someone's giving a formal speech, I might switch over to this just so if you've tuned into this, you can still take part in what I believe is a historic day in the Middle East, because Trump is there in Israel. He's speaking about this peace deal that he's managed to create. No other world leader, I believe, would have been able to manage what Donald Trump has managed. And he's here in this Israeli parliament, the Knesset, speaking. I think they're going to award him a medal as well. One of the highest honors that you can give anyone in Israel is Trump's going to be awarded that. As well as then after that, he's going to be flying off to Egypt, I believe, with the leader of the Palestinian Authority, who's going to be joining them as well, and all these other Arab leaders or Middle Eastern leaders, as well as now, I believe, Benjamin Netanyahu will be joining the leadership group in Egypt as well to continue this process. So it's only phase one so far, but we've had the release of all the living hostages into the hands of the Israelis. So they've come across from Hamas, come across the border with the Red Cross, and they've gone over to the Israeli side, and some of them are, being facilitated to moved on to hospitals. You can imagine their condition after, I think, 700 plus days in those Hamas tunnels and so on. So I will be bringing you this. Obviously, we have news that's happening
we're currently
in Australia as well. News that's happening in Australia as well. But we'll keep an eye on this as we go, because again, I know some of you probably would be watching this rather than watching my show, but I want to be able to watch it with you guys. We can bring your comments onto the screen. As you can see, I finally have it all figured out, guys. Look at the screens. It's almost like a professional news show. I think it's even better because I have you guys watching with me, and it's much more interesting to have your comments show up on screen, your super chats, whatever. However you want to do this, guys, we can have a bit of fun with this. And it's an interesting way of kind of taking part in the news together. This is, of course, happening in Israel, but everything that's happened in the Middle East over the last 2 years, especially when it comes to this particular conflict, we've seen the impacts it's had on Australian society as well. whether it's the fact that we've had, attacks on Jewish Australians here, we've had countless protests, we've had claims of Islamophobia, and some people saying that, the Islamic community in Australia has been attacked as well. There's been certain incidents of that as well. But overall, there's been a disharmony in our country as a result of what's happening over there in Israel and Gaza and the Middle East more broadly, because we did see, issues with Iran, with Lebanon, with Yemen, with Qatar. So the whole region has been involved to some extent. And for all of us, it's kind of a historic day because of really that man sitting there on the left of the Speaker of the House there, of the Knesset, who me and Avi actually had the pleasure of interviewing only a couple of weeks ago. Donald Trump is sitting there. And a lot of this is due to him. And I don't think, a lot of the left-wing media still haven't given him the due credit. They haven't given him the due credit for what he has managed to achieve, I believe. And I think it's going to be historic in some sense. Yes, there's going to be problems, for sure. There's going to be issues. There's always issues when it comes to, negotiating peace deals with whether it's a state like Israel, because they have their own interests, as well as even more complicated when you have a terrorist organization, at least recognized by the West, like Hamas, who have their own way of doing things as well. And we're seeing a little bit of that now when we're having confrontations between, certain gangs and groups in Gaza itself as they're trying to get control of the region or the area, Gaza. So, yes, there's a lot going on. So welcome to the show. I did really want to talk about Lydia Thorpe, that particular issue and those things as well. So I'll probably get to that, but it's really distracting what's happening here. So let me just go back to that for 1 second. Donald Trump, let's bring the audio back.
To focus as much as it can on the process of peace after all of the scenes of devastation and destruction we've all witnessed over the last 2 years in Gaza.
That's right. We've got live pictures from the Knesset here with Donald Trump about to speak there. And also, we've just heard from Matt Doran that the first of the helicopters carrying the released hostages, he's been seeing helicopters circle Hostages Square and crowds cheering, and they're expecting to have some of those helicopters arrive. As Donald Trump addresses the Knesset.
These introductory remarks by, we assume he's a man resembling the Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, continue. Donald Trump, in fact, was meant to deliver these remarks roughly about an hour or so ago, but things are very fluid at the moment. Lots of moving parts in the air and helicopters flying, carrying hostages, Palestinian prisoners being released. We showed our viewers pictures of a busload of Palestinian prisoners being released in the West Bank. We expect more prisoners to be released into Gaza over the course of the next few hours. And importantly, it's a very human day for the families of those prisoners, Israeli prisoners and Palestinian prisoners reuniting with their loved ones over a long period of time.
Of course, they have been waiting a long time for this day, and a long time today as well in Hostages Square. We've seen them gathered there, and they are just waiting for the
So I'll cut the audio there, guys. I'm bringing this from our public broadcaster, but they're bringing it from a Israeli network, but they're just kind of commentating on top of it. We don't need to watch the ABC. I think Avi's actually managed to confront the ABC in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. So I'll see if that's actually available. If he's managed to put that up. I don't know if I've jumped the gun here, but maybe it is. Yeah, it is here. Let's play this video from Avi until we hear Donald Trump speaking, and then we can flick back to Donald Trump speaking. So let's
who was killed in the war. She says while the number of aid trucks entering the Strip has increased, it falls short of the promise the agreements.
Please write a formal complaint to the ABC. I am not talking to you any further.
Do you understand why people want to defund the ABC? Why should my taxpayer dollars go to you?
You are just trying to catch me out here. You are trying to make a scene. I am trying to do actual journalism. So please...
Actual journalism? Is that what it's called when you lie? Avi Amini in Hostage Square, Tel Aviv, for thetruthaboutthewar.com, where thousands have gathered as the hostages are being released. But what I've spotted in the corner of the crowd here is someone that hasn't told the truth about any of the war from the beginning, and I believe is personally responsible for a lot of the hatred and division in Australia. So I'm going to go ask him about his reporting. You're going to finally call Hamas terrorists today?
Sorry?
You're going to finally report Hamas as terrorists? Do you hold your head in shame for the way that you reported in the last 2 years? Much of the anti-Semitic hate in Australia has to do solely on your reporting. How does it feel? You're here on this historic day thanks to Trump.
Please make sure you're balanced. ABC's been an absolute joke. Absolute joke. Ridiculous.
How do you feel being here when...
Ridiculous. Thank you, Trump. Yeah, see you later.
How do you feel saying that?
It's a joke. As a taxpayer, like investing in, like we invest in these guys. They come here, they create a complete mockery of the. They just divide everyone. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Thank God he's going. No one wants him here. It's a joke.
Why are you running? Are you embarrassed about your reporting now 2 years later? Are you embarrassed about the way you've covered this conflict?
Stand by my reporting. Please, I'm trying to do my job here.
Is Hamas a terrorist organisation?
Yes, it is a prescribed terrorist organisation under Australian law. Thank you. And I have said that in my reporting.
And do you think that...
I'm trying to do my job here, sir. Please, can you allow me to
do you take any any responsibility for the way that this conversation has been had in Australia over the last 2 years?
I stand by my reporting. Can you please let me do my job? Can you please?
Your job is detrimental to Australia.
Can you please let me do my job? I'm not speaking to you any further. Sorry.
You don't have to. All good. There you go. The ABC. Please leave me alone. He's the victim here. After 2 years of essentially demonising Israel. He's here at Hostage Square on the historic day that Trump locked in. Ironically, demonizes Trump.
באמצע שידור. אתה מדבר עברית?
אני מבין עברית, כן.
לא, אתה לא מדבר עברית, ואני אחראי כאן, ואתה מפריע לנו...
אכפת לי, אתה יודע מי זה? אתה יודע מה הוא עושה? אתה יודע מה הוא עושה ליהודים באוסטרליה? אתה מבין את זה? בגללו יש אנטיסמיטיזם באוסטרליה. זה שאתה עוזר לו, זה אתה. My Hebrew is a bit broken there, but I don't think even the people working around him understand what he is responsible. It's he's been the main reporter here in Israel that has demonized Israel for 2 years straight. And now on this historic day, he's here at Hostage Square pretending that he somehow is being balanced. The funny thing is he's also demonized Donald Trump, the man responsible for this peace deal today. Matthew, you say you stand by everything. You still stand by? Do you still stand by Israel targeting hospitals? You said Israel targeting hospitals,
leave me alone.
but you fueled the anti-Semitism. I don't care. I don't care. What you've done to Jews in Australia, you didn't leave us alone. You made Israel. You demonized Israel. You said that they were targeting hospitals, which is illegal under international law. You fueled the anti-Semitism in Australia. Do you want to apologize? Do you not think that the ABC should be defunded? You stand by reporting that Israel broke international law by targeting Hamas terrorists. You admitted they're terrorists.
Please leave me alone. I have said what I've said to you. Please leave me alone.
You should hold your head in shame, mate.
Please leave me
your
alone.
head in shame.
Please leave me alone.
You are the reason. I've just realised he also was pushing the starving journalist narrative. Matthew, one last question. The starving journalists, the starving people. You said everyone was starving. Have you not seen people in Gaza?
Please stop.
So do you take back some of your reporting?
I stand by my reporting.
So they're starving in Gaza. Israel was starving the population, but you don't see anyone starving today there. You don't see anyone malnutrition there today in the footage that we're seeing come out of Gaza. They're celebrating. You also said that they were intentionally targeting hospitals, which was against international law. You stand by all that, which was fueling anti-Semitism in Israel. Really, can you say that while looking me in the eye?
Yes. I stand by my reporting, and I have told you that repeatedly.
So I've given you two examples of complete and utter lies that you just told.
You are saying that they are lies. I stand by my reporting. If you have a concern, please write a formal complaint to the ABC. I am not talking to you any further.
Do you understand why people want to defund the ABC? Why should my taxpayer dollars go to you?
You are just trying to catch me out here. You are trying to make a scene. I am trying to do actual journalism. So please...
Actual journalism? Is that what it's called when you lie?
Please leave us alone.
Yeah. The truth about the war.com. That's actual journalism. This guy, is a propagandist who lies about Israel at every chance he gets, and he has the chutzpah to be here and to stand and to be at the historic moment here in Tel Aviv where Trump did it. Another guy that he's demonized for years did it. And no one's starving in Gaza at the moment, and Israel didn't intentionally go against international law and target civilians. I'm sure there's plenty of other lies he told, but as you can see, he won't defend the specific lies. He will say he just stands by it all. He is the reason for the hatred we've seen in Australia over the last couple of years. Him, the ABC, and people like him.
Whether it's the catalyst or a byproduct of that's driving anti-Semitism for any, whether it's Muslim, Jews, Christians, whatever it is.
So guys, I was just bringing you that video. That Avi just released that on YouTube. If you want to go share that out and get that out to people, it's available on X as well, I believe. He's just getting that out there. That was about an hour or so ago. He confronted an ABC journalist there in Tel Aviv at Hostage Square and asked him a few questions. So you saw that interaction. Avi's obviously in Israel at the moment. He just flew there as the news of the peace deal, things coming to fruition, especially today. We've seen the release of all the alive hostages into the hands of the Israelis from Hamas. But yeah, Avi was there at Hostage Square and he ran into the ABC journalist, who he confronted and asked a few questions. So that's for the Australian audience. So if you want to get that, you can find that on YouTube and X as well. I think Avi's there doing some great work, talking to people on the crowd, in the ground, talking to people in the crowd on the ground and getting some interesting perspectives. Obviously, it's a massive day there in Israel for all the people out there. He's actually live on ABC right now. Let's switch to the reporter. Let's see how much Avi flustered him.
We do know that the crowds have thinned out a little bit, but there are still thousands and thousands of people crammed into Hostage Square at the moment. They are listening.
So he's just doing his report. But yeah, Avi was just there. You watched the video with me just before of him confronting this particular ABC reporter. And that's more for an Australian audience. But he does make some great points, Avi. ABC has been very biased throughout this whole ordeal. Their coverage has been very biased. They've been, not covered certain things. They've taken a particular stance. A lot of their reporters, they've been more so activists in many instances. And you have to remember there's a difference between a public broadcaster and someone that is from a commercial network. A public broadcaster is funded by the Australian taxpayers, and there's certain expectations that they will present two sides of a story, because they're being funded by all Australians, and not all Australians agree with the ABC. And it's not just this particular coverage on Israel and this Gaza conflict that ABC has been biased. We know that they have a left-wing bias, and we know a lot of their reporters are woke. I remember during the Voice to Parliament, for instance, they had this same knack of just covering one side of it and really heavily pushing for the Voice to Parliament to be put through. So they use taxpayer-funded money to push their particular narratives, their particular propaganda, and they also do this for this particular war as well, which is what Avi was talking about. It's not so much that they can't have a certain view; it's that they've only had one view, and that is again for a public broadcaster. So it's very important to know the difference between a commercial network. Even someone like myself, independent, I'm very open about my views. You guys know exactly what my views are, and you're not paying for it per se as a taxpayer. So it's very different. You know what Avi's views are. You're not paying for him as a taxpayer. It's all voluntary, the support that you give to us, knowing what our views are. And I can tell by the comments on here that people already know what a lot of my views or what of Avi's views are, just from what people are saying about those views. So, yeah. Anyway, so big day. I'm waiting for President Donald J. Trump to speak. So we're going to keep an eye on that. So you don't have to switch anywhere else. We'll switch to that. I've got ABC all loaded up, waiting for President Trump to speak. Again, I'm repeating myself. If people want someone say skip to Sky News Australia, okay, instead of ABC. I don't have it's a commercial network. I don't mind using the public broadcaster for work like this specifically, because at the end of the day, they're providing a service for the public, and I'm just kind of commentating on their service and showing you some of the things that they're broadcasting as well. I prefer not to go to commercial networks for this kind of thing, whereas I believe the public broadcaster, for all Australians that we should be able to use some of the things that they're doing for our discussions of news. I think that's a part of the least that we could do with the funding, right? With the millions and billions of dollars that we're giving to ABC. The least that we can do is use it on these type of platforms where Australians are getting together and discussing the news. So guys, thanks for joining in today. I think we'll keep an eye on what's happening here. Okay, so I promise I will bring you Trump's speech. I think that's the most important part to see from what's happening in Tel Aviv at the Knesset, at the Israeli parliament. So I'll bring you Trump's speech. I got this loaded in the side. So if you're joining in and sitting down with me for tonight's show, don't worry, I'll bring you Trump when he speaks, because I want to listen to Trump when he speaks as well. But for now, I'm going to go back to, what was I going to talk about today? Lydia Thorpe. And this also relates to this issue, right? Lydia Thorpe, the great, great nuisance that is Lydia Thorpe, has been causing all types of trouble in our country. And I think there might be some sort of consequences for her. I don't know 100% if this is going to actually play out the way that I believe it should play out personally. And I think a lot of Australians, from the comments that I've seen, especially on my posts, believe that there should be consequences for someone like Lydia Thorpe. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go through my ex. I've been talking about this issue a lot, and I've posted very early on kind of what she said. And we're going to break it all down and see if it's actually a possibility that the AFP, who are now investigating Lydia Thorpe, allegedly, for these comments. I mean, they're definitely investigating her, but allegedly for the sentiment of the comments that she's made. We're going to see, like, do you think it rises to the I guess the threshold where there is some type of criminality? Because I believe, personally, my opinion, based on what she has said, it is a threat of domestic terrorism against the people of Australia, right? It is a threat of domestic terrorism against you and me. We're Australians. The Australian Parliament belongs to the Australian people, and she has threatened to burn it down. It is a threat against the thousands of people that work there, knowing that she has access to the building and that she can at any moment let in some terrorist friends of hers, maybe that she might liaise with at some of these protests where we've known people with certain terroristic views hang out. And she has expressed certain things which have been controversial many times, but in this instance she actually threatened to burn down the Parliament House where she works as a senator, right? She saw no problem with that. And it's crazy, right? It's crazy. Like, this should not be happening. People shouldn't be able to get away with these things, least of all a senator who should be setting the standard for the rest of the public. She's getting away with these things so far. I think she should be held accountable and the full weight of the law and the book thrown at her, because it's despicable to talk in that manner about our Parliament House and to threaten such a thing. I've also made a complaint as a staff member that works at Parliament House to workplace services there, for safety, because I don't know if this psychopath senator will end up burning the place down, right? While I'm there working. Like, it's a threat. I'm laughing about it now, but it's actually serious, because you can't trust these kind of individuals. They're a bit unhinged. And first, before I go on further, let's listen to her, and I'll give you some of the coverage and the fallout from the comments that she's made.
But unimplementable. I'm sorry for these heavy words. And
I'll just mute that for a second. Let's listen to it.
So we stand with you every day, and we will fight every day, and we will turn up every day. And if I have to burn down Parliament House to make a point, I am not there to make friends. I'm there to get justice for our people. So we stand with you.
So pretty much an open threat in public to burn down Parliament House. She says she's not there to make friends. She wants to do it on behalf of the Palestinian cause, right? That is what I inferred from it. For her people, whoever they are. I don't know what she's referring to. She's meant to be a senator for Victoria. So who exactly are her people? I don't specifically know what she's alluding to, but I take it as a serious threat when she makes such a statement. I think we all should, because if you or I got up on a public platform, not even that, if you or I went to our workplace and said to our bosses or the people that that we are working with, which is she's a representative of the state of Victoria, she's a federal senator. If you said, I'm going to burn down this public building or my workplace, there would be repercussions. Don't kid yourself. Don't think that somehow you'll be able to get away with the repercussions of saying those type of things in a public setting. All right. One part of it is that she herself might do that because she says if she has to, and not even for anything like she's doing it for the Palestinians or whatever. She's saying she'll burn down the parliament in Australia and this is of course all during the peace deal that we're watching and seeing live today with the hostages release, all these things that have happened, things that these protesters have asked for, right? A ceasefire, the release of hostages, not these particular protesters. They didn't even mention the hostages. They talk about the prisoner swap and they're getting the prisoners back as well, some prisoners, whatever your thoughts on that may be. So during that whole time, just last Sunday, Lydia Thorpe gets up there and says what? She wants to burn down the Australian Parliament if she doesn't get her way. So it's very dangerous rhetoric. Even if she herself does not do it, she might inspire some other nut job, right? And you heard in the crowd, let me just play it again, just how disgusting some of the people in this crowd are. Because as she's talking about burning down the Parliament of Australia, there are people in the crowd cheering her on. And you have to just think, some of these people are very depraved. They're treasonous, really, if they want to burn down our Parliament House. And these are people that walk amongst us. But let's just listen to the crowd one more time.
I point down Parliament House every day. And if I have to burn down Parliament House to make a point...
So you can hear the cheers there. That is some of the pro-Palestinian crowd cheering on the burning down of the Australian Parliament. This is the same Australian Parliament that now holds the Labor government, right, that voted to recognize the state of Palestine. But these people are so grateful for that they will cheer on a psychotic senator like this talking about burning the place down. So it is a threat of domestic terrorism as far as I'm concerned. That's why I've reported her personally as well to workplace services, because it's a threat. It's dangerous. You work there, you don't know if these psychopaths will burn the place down. I'm being serious. And if it was anyone else, if it was, God forbid, Pauline Hanson from One Nation or, another conservative senator talking about some issue and they were talking about burning down the Parliament House, which I've never heard them say anything like that. But if they had remotely mentioned that, they would not be stopping at anything less than having the police there straight away, having the federal police there straight away. It took a lot of work from the Australian public, a lot of pressure from people like Pauline Hanson to actually make the AFP, I believe, pay attention to this and actually, investigate this. Whatever investigating means with the AFP, it's to be seen, but it is a good litmus test to see what they do in this scenario, because if they okay this type of language, it means more people really are going to be out there inciting violence, inciting threats. And we are living in a heavily charged political environment where it has become more and more dangerous to have certain political views, because there are psychopaths like this, again, like this Lydia Thorpe individual, who are threatening for political ideological causes, not even really to do with Australia in some aspects, to do with something that's happening overseas in Palestine, right, with that particular cause. Some particular thing with that, she is willing to burn down the parliament here in Australia. Because what did the Australian people exactly do to deserve the burning of their parliament for this particular cause? It's quite sick when you think about it. And it's problematic. And it shows you the type of people who are coming to our country, who are in our country, and sadly also the type of senators that we have. And that is why I think we need to see consequences. We need to see the AFP actually do this seriously. And I hope there's something that comes out of it. And luckily, let's just see, I think Trump might be speaking soon. Let's have a look. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's have a listen in.
Thank you for recognizing in your 2020 peace plan our rights in Judea and Samaria, the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Thank you for brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Avraham, Eskemei Avraham. Thank you for withdrawing from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Thank you for supporting Operation Rising Lion and for your bold decision to launch Operation Midnight Hammer. Boy, is that, you got to hear this. This is the most fitting name ever named for a military operation, because a little after midnight, you really hammered them.
Oh, yeah.
My friends, this is only a partial list, but it's enough to affirm what I've said time and again. Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. No American president has ever done more for Israel. And as I said in Washington, it ain't even close. It's really not a match. Mr. President, today we welcome you here to thank you for your pivotal leadership in putting forward a proposal that got the backing of almost the entire world. A proposal that brings all our hostages home. A proposal that ends the war by achieving all our objectives. A proposal that opens the door to an historic expansion of peace in our region and beyond our region. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace, and together, Mr. President, we will achieve this peace. We've done it before. We've done it before in the Abraham Accords, and we'll do it again. Mr. President, today the Jewish calendar marks the end of 2 years of war. That war began on October 7th, on the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah. You always tell me, and you tell the world, remember October 7th. Mr. President, we remember. We remember the thousands of Hamas terrorists who stormed into our towns and kibbutzim. We remember the 1,200 people Hamas savagely slaughtered in cold blood, including dozens and dozens of Americans. We remember entire families burnt alive as they embraced each other. We remember the beautiful young Israelis brutally gunned down at the Nova Music Festival. We remember the hundreds of our citizens who were dragged into the dungeons of Gaza, including 12 Americans, men and women, young and old, babies and elderly Holocaust survivors. My friends, Mr. President, Donald, these monsters take babies as hostages. In response to this barbaric attack on October 7th, Israel did what it had to do. With indomitable courage, we set out to defend our people, to defeat our enemies, and to release our hostages. Our heroic soldiers fought like lions. They fought on the front lines of civilization and barbarism. Israel achieved amazing victories over Hamas and the entire Iran terror axis. Sinwar, Dev, Hania, Nasrallah, Assad, they're all gone. Iran's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program with your enormous help, Mr. President, rolled back. Half the Houthi leadership wiped out. But the price of this victory, the price of these victories, has been heavy. Nearly 2,000 of Israel's finest were lost, nearly half in battle. They left behind parents, spouses, siblings, and children. Their love and laughter, their promise and potential were lost forever. To the families of our fallen fighters, many of them are here, I say, I know the depth of your pain. I know the inconsolable grief that will accompany you for the rest of your lives. The state of Israel bows its head in eternal gratitude to our fallen heroes. Because of these heroes, our nation will survive. Because of these heroes, our nations will thrive. And because of these heroes, our nation will have peace. Mr. President, thousands of our brave soldiers were also wounded, suffering terrible blows to body and soul. Brave soldiers like Ari Spitz. Ari is an American. Ari is an American Israeli who was injured Ari is an American Israeli who was injured in Gaza while searching for Hamas terrorists and weapons. Two of Ari's comrades were killed in this action and 10 were injured. Ari was presumed dead, but made a miraculous recovery despite losing 3 limbs. Ari, stand up for a minute alone. Stand up. There you go. There. Ari, you are the spirit of Joshua. You are the spirit of David. You are the spirit of the Maccabees. You are the spirit of Israel. I salute you. We all salute you. Sabine Tassa of Kibbutz Netiv HaAsara is watching us today from the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles. Sabine lost her husband and her oldest son on October 7th. She is the mother of 3 other boys. 2 of them, Kohen and Shai, witnessed their father jump on a Hamas grenade to save his 2 sons. We all saw the film of those 2 boys crying out in pain, "Father is dead. Why? Why did God save me?" Mr. President, my friend Donald, I've seen some very tough things in my life, but I couldn't bring myself to watch those boys suffering again. So I didn't see this film except once. Yet Sabine, their mother, has had the strength and fortitude to show this film across the world. And my wife Sarah and I asked her, "Sabine, how do you do it? Why do you do it?" And she answered, "I do it to show the entire world the monsters Israel is fighting and the justice of our cause. This is what she's doing once again in Los Angeles. Sabine, you can hear me now. So I want to tell you on behalf of all of us, you embody the spirit of our biblical heroines, Deborah, Ruth, and Esther. You too are the spirit of Israel, and we all salute you. Mr. President, you asked me on our many conversations during the 12-day war with Iran, you asked me, how are the people holding up? And I said to you, our people are strong. Israelis are a nation of lions with unlimited resolve to defend our country and secure our future. The people give strength to our soldiers, and the people give strength to me and to my colleagues. The Jewish people have risen from the ashes time and again, but when we formed the State of Israel and the Army of Israel, we pledged never again would be defenseless against our enemies. And that resolute strength not only assures our survival, it assures our future, it assures peace. We have paid a high price for this war. But our enemies now understand just how powerful and just how determined Israel is. They understand that attacking Israel on October 7th was a catastrophic mistake. They understand that Israel is strong and that Israel is here to stay. And this, Mr. President, is the indispensable foundation of peace. Peace through strength. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a momentous day, a day of great joy as the remaining hostages come home. My wife Sarah and I have met with the hostage families many times. There were no words to describe their agony, only tears of bottomless sorrow and unimaginable pain. At the beginning of the war, I promised to bring all the hostages home. Today, with the indispensable help, the determined and focused help, the unremitting help of President Trump and his team, and with the incredible sacrifice and courage of the soldiers of Israel, we are fulfilling that promise. It has been a long journey to get here. In the first week of the war, our brave soldiers put military pressure on Hamas, and the international community put diplomatic pressure on them. This enabled us to secure the release of over 100 hostages. In heroic rescue attempts behind enemy lines, Israel's special forces rescued 8 live hostages and brought back the remains of dozens more. But as time went on, we all know what happened. The diplomatic pressure was turned on its head. More and more governments bought into Hamas's false propaganda. More and more governments succumbed to anti-Semitic mobs in their own countries. They just turned on Israel. They called for us to surrender to Hamas demands, just leave Gaza immediately, they said, end the war without committing to disarm Hamas, without committing to demilitarize Gaza. Had Israel succumbed to those demands, not only would Sinwar, Nasrallah, Assad, and Iran's missile and nuclear program remain intact. Not only that, because in no time, the Hamas killers would be back on the border fence, ready to repeat the horrors of October 7th again and again, as they vowed to do. But just at that point of maximum pressure on Israel, a man named Donald J. Trump was elected President of the United States. And ladies and gentlemen, overnight, everything changed. Everything. Mr. President, thanks to your unequivocal backing of Israel, we secured a second hostage deal within weeks of your election. And in the months that followed, we worked closely together to forge a path to bring the remaining hostages home and end the war. End the war in a way that ensures the disarming of Hamas, the demilitarization of Gaza, and that Gaza would never again pose a threat to Israel. 2 months ago, you fully backed my decision to send the IDF into the last Hamas stronghold in Gaza City. You shared my view that this military pressure would help free the hostages. And despite all the criticism, all the naysayers, we were right. Hamas caved in. And 2 weeks ago, you succeeded in doing something miraculous. You succeeded in doing something that no one believed was possible. You brought most of the Arab world, you brought most of the world behind your proposal to free the hostages and end the war. I want to thank Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Ron Dermer for their great contribution to this effort. And I want to thank our negotiating team. I believe that the close cooperation between the two of us, between our two nations, combining Israel's military pressure and President Trump's unmatched global leadership. I have to tell you, I've seen a lot of American presidents. I've seen them all in the time that I've been here, and I've been here quite a lot of time. I've never seen anyone move the world so quickly, so decisively, so resolutely as our friend President Donald J. Trump. With our military pressure and President Trump's global leadership, we achieved this historic moment. It's a moment of indescribable joy as our nation embraces our sons who are coming home. Mr. President, this week, Jews around the world are going to read the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, in the Bible. The Bible has many miraculous moments. One of them was your decision to bomb Fordo. I think it was a pivot of history because it wasn't meant only to bomb Fordo. That action and your previous action of taking out Qasem Soleimani, the architect of death, I think that changed the balance of power in the world. You brought America back again to the driver's seat. Now, I said that we're going to read this week the book of Ecclesiastes. It's not a book of action. It's a book of meditations, of thought, a perspective on life and on death. And in this book, we read the immortal words of King Solomon. To everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. Et milchama ve'et shalom. A time for peace and a time for war. The last 2 years have been a time of war. The coming years will hopefully be a time for peace. Peace inside Israel and peace outside Israel. I look forward to continuing marching with you on the path we paved together with the Abraham Accords. Under your leadership, we can forge new peace treaties with Arab countries in the region and Muslim countries beyond the region. Abraham's children will work together to build a better future, a future that will unite civilization against barbarism, light against darkness, and hope against despair. And my friends, I believe that with President Trump's leadership, this will happen a lot faster than people think. As Prime Minister of Israel, I extend my hand to hold those who seek peace with us. No one wants peace more than the people of Israel. Israel will always remain vigilant in defending itself, and Israel will always remain full of hope. Hope is our national anthem. Hope is our creed. Hope is our strength. It is time, my friends, to realize that hope and expand the circle of peace. Mr. President, thank you for all you have done for us. I have submitted your nomination to be the first non-Israeli recipient of the Israel Prize, Israel's highest award. As to that other prize, just a question of time, you'll get it. But I want you to get the Israel Prize, our highest award, to our greatest friend. When others were weak, you were strong. When others were fearful, you were bold. When others abandoned us, you stood by our side. On behalf of the government and people of Israel, I thank you for your extraordinary friendship. Thank you for helping bring our hostages home. Thank you for supporting Israel's march to victory. Thank you for paving a path to peace. מכובדי נשיא ארצות הברית, ידידי דונלד, ברוך הבא לישראל, ברוך הבא לירושלים, ברוך הבא ביום המרגש הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. May God bless you and your family, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. And may God bless the covenant between our two promised lands. Thank you, Mr. President.
Benjamin Netanyahu there addressing the Knesset.
So, guys, we're just bringing you coverage of what's happening. Obviously, I'm doing my Rukshan On X show, but it's historic, kind of the things which are unfolding in the Middle East at the moment. Trump's in Israel at the moment. He's speaking in the Knesset. I'm bringing you live coverage. Benjamin Netanyahu there, Prime Minister of Israel, talking about Donald Trump, and what is they're saying is this peace deal and the consequences of that and what that means for today and the future. And of course, we've seen the hostages being released. So I believe Trump is going to be speaking soon. We'll bring I'll definitely be bringing that. He's about to speak. Let's go.
Recipient of the Israel Ward. He really had a lot of praise for him.
Yes, the praise was lavished, absolutely lavished on Donald Trump by the Israeli Prime Minister. My friend Donald, as he called him, describing Donald Trump as showing unmatched global leadership. We can hear now from Donald Trump. No, we're going to hear first from the Israeli opposition leader, and then we'll hear from Donald Trump himself. But Benjamin Netanyahu...
So the opposition leader is going to speak. Maybe I'll continue on my show until Donald Trump speaks. If you wanted to catch up with this, I think a lot of places are playing this. But we'll come back when, I think ABC is doing the same thing. We'll come back when Donald Trump is speaking, because that's who we really want to listen to and hear from Donald Trump, because he's been the architect of much of this particular peace deal that's going to take place. Well, it has already started, phase 1 at least, but there's a lot more to come with that. So we'll see what Donald Trump has to say when he's ready to speak. I'll bring you guys that. So yeah, Rukshan On X show, guys. Thanks for joining in. Obviously, we normally talk about news, not really in a live way. Normally I'm going through stories which have already happened, and I was actually in the middle of the story to do with Senator Lydia Thorpe. So if you guys missed that, let's go back to that story, and I'll come back to what's happening when Donald Trump speaks so we can hear from him.
Set up, he will chair at the very start. It'll possibly involve the likes of former British Prime Minister.
Mute that. But we're talking about Senator Lydia Thorpe and how she's being investigated by the Australian Federal Police. So that's for the comments that she made during a pro-Palestinian protest on Sunday, where she said she will burn down the Australian Parliament in support of the Palestinian cause if she had to. Now, Senator Pauline Hanson ended up writing a letter to the Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police. And I'll read just some of the... I won't read her letter. You can go find that letter on my X or on Pauline Hanson's social media. You'll see what the letter says. But I'll read the comment that Pauline Hanson had with that particular post to give you an idea of how Senator Hanson felt about this. She said the shameful actions of former Green Senator Lydia Thorpe at yesterday's pro-Palestine protest should be immediately investigated by the federal police. Unlike the weak response from other politicians, I have written to the Federal Police Commissioner seeking her assistance. I am sick to death of no one taking actions against Senator Thorpe for her vile behaviour. Incitement is very clear. Intentionally urging a person or a group to use force or violence against another group based on race, religion, nationality, or political opinion. If it were you or I who threatened to burn down Parliament House, we would have already received a knock on the door from authorities who would have taken us in for questioning. Enough is enough. So that was earlier today, 8 hours ago, I think at least. But yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment there of Senator Pauline Hanson. It's true. If it were you or I that had made those statements, they would have been come knocking on our doors and we would have been taken in for questioning. And we already had an incident of an individual that had allegedly threatened Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, I believe, former a veteran that had threatened Albanese. I could be getting the story mixed up, online from Queensland. And he's now under investigation. So, there's certain times that these things are taken seriously. And like I said before, if we threaten to burn down our workplace, definitely police would be talking to us and questioning us. I think this whole thing about Lydia Thorpe being this renegade, she's got like a loud mouth and she just says things and you can't really take her seriously. It's just nonsense. We can't give her a blank check to incite violence in this country against Australians. Like it is a place that belongs to all Australians, the Parliament House. And yes, we might have different views about what goes on in that building, but it definitely does not rise to the level of anyone being able to tell people to burn the place down, especially someone working there as a senator. I think that's just a bad message that it sends. And we know that in our society, there are particular lunatics that live amongst us. And, especially the types of people from the Greens, the far left, and the other types of people that support Senator Lydia Thorpe. Perhaps within that group, there might be a lunatic that would be willing to take her up on this and make it come to fruition and burn down the Australian Parliament. So these things have to be taken very seriously. So I commend Senator Pauline Hanson from One Nation, who is almost every single time that she makes any type of statements that might be controversial, she gets either taken to court, the media goes up in hysteria, other politicians come after her. I don't know if the police have investigated, but I know she's been in the courts, for instance, with Marine Faruqi around comments where she told her to go back to Pakistan. And some might even say, in some instances, from the things that Marine Faruqi has said and done, those type of comments, there's people that obviously make those type of comments online all the time, but Senator Pauline Hanson has been taken to task over those comments. Whereas Lydia Thorpe gets to get away with, talking about burning down Parliament House. So there is a double standard that we're seeing applied really against conservatives, the right, where there's a lot of hysteria. ABC News didn't even cover this story until the AFP got involved, right? Whereas all the other outlets had covered it. So there is this bias that's inherent within a lot of the political class and the media class in this country that are heavily tilted towards protecting people like Lydia Thorpe, despite the whack job things that she says that, yes, we might be able to brush off as being because she's a whack job, but if any of us said it, there would be consequences. So it's an important point I think Pauline Hanson has made in this letter that she sent out. But following up from that, we did then have, if I can go to here, it's a funny picture there. That's actually Lydia Thorpe in her mock Hamas headband. I think it says chocolate or something in Arabic. So this is I think this is last year she wore that headband, and that was controversial at the time, but she was like, I'm just like pretending, like I'm wearing a mock thing, don't get all crazy. But, she has been kind of floating with this idea of showing support, right? In a way, with the comments that she makes towards and the dress that she's wearing, like the Hamas headband there. This is a senator that's making very questionable remarks and questionable positions on this particular war. And she's been called out for that. But it goes to another level when she starts to incite violence. It starts to incite domestic terrorism against public buildings in Australia. And that is why the AFP, and I think also because of all the pressure that's been put on the AFP by, ordinary people in this country, really making it a point of letting the AFP know that they don't want to see this two-tier system. They want to see some type of action taken against these individuals like Senator Thorpe that makes these comments. So they are investigating, right? The AFP are investigating. And we talked about a story last week where they've set up this new this new team, the National Investigation, what's the team called? National Security Investigations, right? That's what the AFP, under this leadership of the new commissioner, this lady here, that's what they set up. And that was set up to go after issues of social cohesion, right? Which is dystopian, I agree. I think there's all sorts of problems related to that particular unit that they've put together, because the remarks I made last week was that particular unit is going to be turned on the Australian public for questioning certain things, for making certain remarks, right? I'm just talking about like free speech things that we might criticize a certain group and we'll get investigated. But I think what Lydia Thorpe is doing, inciting violence through her comments, right? Domestic terrorism, talking about burning down a federal building, that actually meets the threshold of something that should be investigated, right? So even though I disagree with this particular unit being set up because of the way that it's dystopian, really, I do believe even without this unit or whatever, this should still be investigated. So the AFP are saying that this is going to be the first case, I believe, that this particular new social cohesion investigative dystopian unit is going to be looking at is actually Senator Lydia Thorpe. There was a comment from a spokesperson for the AFP, and this is what they said. They said this will be done methodically. It is not the usual practice of the AFP to provide a running commentary on matters. Let me just make that bigger. On matters, however, noting that public commentary and concern, the AFP is seeking to reassure the community that this issue is being appropriately considered and undertaken in a timely manner. Now, I agree with some of the comments that people have made that this could just all be for show, right? AFP could be doing all of this for show just because there's been so much community members contacting the AFP and telling them that there's a double standard. You have to investigate this individual, right? A lot of people have put in complaints. A lot of people have called the new tip line that they set up for social cohesion and reported Senator Lydia Thorpe. So I think the hand may have been forced in terms of having to do this investigation. But we're all watching very closely. I'm watching this very closely because I want to see the reasoning behind this particular commissioner from the AFP if they decide not to go and charge her for breaching some sort of, incitement type offense. I want to see what the justification is that they say for that, right? So Senator Thorpe has come out and said, this is what she has said about this. Let me just read her statement because she's also put out a statement, and I just want to read some of her comments. Senator Thorpe has addressed the matter and said her comments were not to be taken seriously as they were clearly a figure of speech, obviously not a literal threat, and this mock outrage is ridiculous. So this is like this whole downplaying of the comments that she made to burn down Parliament House, right? And again, you or I, you have to understand here, people might be thinking like, oh, you're being petty or whatever. Guys, if you did this, right, and the police came to you and you're like, oh, guys, sorry, AFP, or sorry, Victoria Police, it was just a figure of speech when I was talking about burning down my workplace. I didn't really mean it like that. Right? They're still going to come for you. They're still going to investigate you. They're still going to go through and try to figure out if there's something more to this. They will. You won't just be able to be like, hey, it's just a figure of speech. Don't worry about it. That's not how this works. And I think politicians should be held to the same standard, if not a higher standard, because of the position of authority that they hold. Donald Trump, I believe, is he about to speak? Let's just check on that as well. I don't think so. I think they're just showing older footage. Yeah, he's not speaking yet. So as soon as Donald Trump speaks, guys, we'll bring that onto the screen. Let's go back to Senator Thorpe. So yeah, definitely, I welcome the the investigation from the federal police. I think that's a good thing, and I'm interested to see what comes of it. Even if nothing comes of it, I really want to see the reasoning behind what they say, the reason why they're not going to be charging her or investigating her further or bringing her in for questioning. I would hope at the minimum they're bringing her in for some type of questioning or going to her and questioning her, because we can't have these politicians, these left-wing politicians running around making threats against the Australian public, and then when they're called out for it, turning around and being like, hey, just I didn't really mean it, I was just joking, or it was a figure of speech. Nah, because they've been getting away with that for way too long. Catherine, this is an unrelated comment, but yet I just want to bring this up as well. Tommy Robinson terrorism trial has started. That's right. I think there might be some coverage of this happening online. I believe Ezra Levant from Rebel News is there as well, doing coverage of that. So if you want to follow up on that, that'll be interesting to see if Tommy Robinson gets done by the state. They've been going after him for years on lots of different things, and this is obviously the latest thing that they're trying to get him on. I won't go into too much detail because I haven't prepared anything for that, but that is happening. Thanks for that comment, Catherine. I appreciate it. I'll just read the other super chat as well that's come through from Equity. He says, Equity, I'm assuming you're a guy. Lydia doing a burgatory with a fire emoji next to it. How do I say no comment? Let me just fix this as well. Make this a little bit smaller. Thanks for the super chat, guys. Like I said, if you want, at the start of the show, if you want to support the show as well, you can do super chats on YouTube. That's a great way of supporting the show. Let's bring up some of your comments about Lydia, and we'll go back to Donald Trump when he starts speaking later on. This is from earlier on. John says, AFP are investigating Lydia now. That's right. Ross says, yeah, Pauline for Prime Minister. Look, I think she shows great qualities of leadership. She's very gutsy compared to many of the politicians that we have in Parliament right now. And she's been that way for a long time. One thing I can say about Senator Pauline Hanson is she's been very consistent, one of the most consistent members of Parliament that we've had, I think, ever in Australia, maybe. And she's been proven right as well multiple times. The stuff that she was saying in the 90s. Oh, Trump is speaking. Let's go.
Nice place. Very nice place. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, esteemed members of the Knesset, and cherished citizens of Israel, we gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity. This is not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death, and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East. I want to express my gratitude to a man of exceptional courage and patriotism, whose partnership did so much to make this momentous day possible. You know who I'm talking about. There's only one, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Bibi, please stand up. And he is not easy, I want to tell you. He's not the easiest guy to deal with. But that's what makes him great. That's what makes him great. Thank you very much, baby. Great job. And let me also convey my tremendous appreciation for all of the nations of the Arab and Muslim world that came together to press Hamas to set the hostages free and to send them home. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of help from a lot of people that you wouldn't suspect, and I want to thank them very much for that. It's an incredible triumph for Israel and the world to have all of these nations working together as partners in peace. And it's pretty unusual for you to see that, but it happened in this case. This was a very unusual point in time, a brilliant point in time. Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better. Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East. It's going to work together. I'd like to thank several great American patriots for their invaluable help in getting something done that almost everyone thought was absolutely impossible. We were wasting our time. So many people said, "You're just wasting your time." But we weren't, because we had talented people working with us, and we had people that loved your country, and frankly, people that loved the region. They loved the Middle East. I want to thank my friend Steve Witkoff. You know, Steve was chosen by me. He never did this before, but I knew him as a few things. He was a great businessman, but I know a lot of great businessmen, to be honest with you. He had tremendous negotiating skills, but I know a lot of people that negotiate pretty well, although it is an art. But there are people that can negotiate pretty well. But most importantly with Steve, he's just a great guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody. I mean, I know some negotiators that are so good, but you wouldn't have had peace in the Middle East. It would be in World War III right now with some of these guys. Everybody loves Steve, and they respect him, and they somehow can relate to him. I've known him for many years, and I've seen it over and over again.
להוציא את חבר הכנסת עודה, להוציא אותו מהאולם, להוציא אותו מיד, החוצה, החוצה, החוצה. להוציא גם את חבר הכנסת כסיף, להוציא את חבר הכנסת כסיף מהאולם, להוציא אותם מיד.
Looks like we have a troublemaker there in the Knesset, whether it's a member of the Knesset, like a politician with a different view. There's a lot of left-wing members in there as well that don't like Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the disruptor of some sort. Trump will not be
That
happy.
was very efficient. So back to Steve. He's But I tell one story because he was so involved, and then we called in Jared. We need that brain on occasion. We got to get Jared in here. We got to get a certain group of people. But Steve started this all by himself. I call him Henry Kissinger, who doesn't leak. Okay? Henry is a big leaker. He leaked. Steve doesn't leak. Steve just wants to get the job done. He wants to do what's right. But I'll give you just a quick story because, as you know, he's working on the war with Russia and Ukraine, a war that would have never happened if I were president. A shame. 7,000 young soldiers a week are being killed. More than that this last week. It's a shame. Should have never happened. But it did happen, and we won the race, and I took over this horrible war that's been raging, and I thought it would be easily settled. I thought it was a hell of a lot easier than doing what we just did very successfully with Israel and a lot of other people. But this came first, and we'll get that one. But I set up a meeting for him to meet with President Putin, thinking it would be a 15 or a 20-minute meeting. Steve had no idea about Russia, had no idea about Putin too much, didn't know too much about politics, wasn't that interested. He was really good at real estate, but he had that quality that I was looking for, and I didn't see it around in too many ways. And I set up the meeting with Putin, and I called. I said, is Steve finished yet? That was about a half an hour into the meeting. No, sir, he's not. He's still inside. This is in Moscow. I said, well, how's he doing? I don't know, sir. He's still inside. I called up an hour later. Let me speak to Steve. Sir, he's still with Putin. He's with President Putin. I said, wow, that's a long meeting, 1 hour. I called up an hour later, he was still with Putin. 3 hours later, he was still with Putin. 4 hours later, he started to get the word that he was going to be coming out soon. And in 5 hours, he came out. I said, what the hell were you talking about for 5 hours? And he says, just a lot of interesting things. We're talking about a lot of interesting things, including what he went in there for, but you can't talk about it for 5. You can talk about it for a certain period of time, and you know what you're getting. But that's a talent. That's a talent where you can do that. Most people I'd send in, number one, they wouldn't be accepted. Number two, if they were, the meeting would last 5 minutes. And that's what happens with Steve. Everybody loves him. They love him on this side. They love him on the other side. And he really is. He's a great negotiator because he's a great guy. So thank you very much, Steve, very much. And let me also give a very special thanks to someone who truly loves Israel. In fact, loves it so much that my daughter converted. My daughter converted. I didn't know this was going to happen. And Ivanka's here. And Bibi, you do know this was not in the cards for me. You understand that. And she is so happy, and they are so happy. At least I think they're happy. If they're not, we have a big story, right? No, they have a great marriage, and they get along great. They're best friends. They have a very special relationship. But Jared has been so helpful. He really did something very special. He established the Abraham Accords with a group of very wonderful people. I like calling it the Avraham Accords because people that, right? Avraham. It's so cool. It's so much sort of nicer, you know? The Abraham versus the Avraham. I just don't want to sound too sanctimonious when I do it, so, you know, I sort of split it up. This way we keep everybody happy. But we have some very great talent, and they have no excuses for anything that's taken place because we had some unbelievably good people working on this. And then you're going to add a man named Marco Rubio, who is also here. And I have a prediction that Marco will go down, I mean this, as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the United States. I believe that. I believe it. And he and I, you know, we really fought it out. You remember, he was tough. He was nasty. Who the hell thought this was going to happen, Marco, right? And now I'm saying he's going to go down as the greatest. He will. He was always smart and sharp, and people respect him. And then we have somebody who's young, but an unbelievable leader. I saw it a long time ago, and he's turned out to be even better than we thought. Right, Susie? I think even better. And that's Pete Hegseth, who is our Secretary of War, formerly Secretary of Defense. And as you know, we decisively won World War I. We decisively won World War II decisively. And everything in between and everything before it, we won everything. And then they had the brilliant idea of changing the name from war, you know, it was war, to defense. And with that went a certain thinking. And we fought in a very politically correct way after that. We always had the strongest military, and now we have a stronger military than we've ever had before. Because of my first term, I've totally rebuilt the military, every aspect of it. But we have, if you think, we settled 8 wars in 8 months. I'm now including this one, by the way, if that's okay. They may say, well, that was quick, because yesterday I was saying 7, but now I can say 8. The hostages are back. The hostages are back. It is a good feeling. Isn't that nice to say? You know, I just said the hostage, first time I said the hostages are back. It feels so good to say it. But when you settle 8 wars in 8 months, that means you don't like war. Everyone thought I was going to be brutal. In fact, I remember Hillary Clinton during a debate, she said, look at him, he's going to go into war with everybody. And actually, she said, he's got a personality that's all about war. No, and my personality actually is all about stopping wars, and it seems to work. It seems to work. But it also means this name change in our attitude that we're not going to go into a war, but if we do, we're going to win that war like nobody has ever won a war before. We will not be politically correct, but we're not going to be there. And I think, you know, as you mentioned, Bibi, before, peace through strength, and that's what it's all about. The United States has the greatest and most powerful military in the right now history of the world. I can tell you we have weapons that nobody's ever dreamt of. I only hope we never have to use them. I rebuilt the military. I was proud to do it, but some of the things I hated to do. I hated certain of the weapons because the level of power is so enormous. It's so dangerous, so bad. But we have to do what we have to do. We make the best weapons in the world, and we've got a lot of them. And we've given a lot to Israel, frankly. And I mean, Bibi would call me so many times, can you get me this weapon, that weapon? Some of them I never heard of, Bibi, and I made them. But we'd get them here, wouldn't we? And they are the best. They are the best. But you used them well. It also takes people that know how to use them. And you obviously used them very well. But so many that Israel became strong and powerful, which ultimately led to peace. That's what led to peace. So as we celebrate today, let us remember how this nightmare of depravity and death all began. 2 years ago, on the eve of the Simchat Torah holiday, thousands of innocent Israeli civilians were attacked by terrorists, and one of the most evil and heinous desecrations of innocent life the world has ever seen, the worst slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. The cruelty of October 7th struck to the core of humanity itself. Nobody could believe what they were witnessing. The United States of America grieved alongside you, and we mourned for our own citizens who were so viciously taken that day. And to all the families whose lives were forever changed by the atrocities of that day, and all of the people of Israel, please know that America joins you in those two everlasting vows: never forget and never again. From October 7th until this week, Israel has been a nation at war, enduring burdens that only a proud and faithful people could withstand. It was a very tough period of time. For so many families across this land, it has been years since you've known a single day of true peace. but now at last, not only for Israelis, but also for Palestinians and for many others, the long and painful nightmare is finally over. And as the dust settles, the smoke fades, the debris is removed, and the ashes cleaned from the air, the day that breaks on a region transformed, and a beautiful and much brighter future appears suddenly within your reach. This is now a very exciting time for Israel and for the entire Middle East, because all across the Middle East, the forces of chaos, terror, and ruin that have plagued the region for decades now stand weakened, isolated, and totally defeated. A new coalition of proud and responsible nations is emerging, and because of us, the enemies of all civilization are in retreat. Thanks to the bravery and incredible skill of the Israeli Defense Forces and Operation Rising Lion, guy's central casting. Let's put him in a movie. Look at him. Great job. And my people loved working with you. Loved it. They worked so well together. But many of Iran's top terrorists, including nuclear scientists and commanders, have been extinguished from this earth. And with Operation Midnight Hammer, boy, that's a great name for that, what we did. Last June, the United States military flew 7 of those beautiful B-2 bombers. They look so beautiful all of a sudden. They were always, I thought they were pretty planes. I had no idea they could do what they did. In fact, we just ordered 28 more of them. A little updated version. We ordered a whole pile of them. And almost 100 other planes went with them, including fighter jets. And we had 52 tankers, big, beautiful, brand new tankers that were loading them up 4 or 5 times. They've traveled 37 hours back and forth, think of that. But we had tankers all over the sky for all the other planes. We had the F-22s, the F-35s, F-16s. We had a hell of a lot of planes. So we had 52 gas stations in the sky. That's what they call them. I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be flying one of them. We have our great General Raisin Cain right here. General, stand up. This guy, what a general. Thank you. I asked General Cain, I said, you know, we're having problems with ISIS, and I was in Washington, and I asked, how long would it take to defeat ISIS? And my Washington generals told me, 3, 4, maybe 5 years, sir. I said, I don't get it. We got the best equipment in the world. Why? So I flew to Iraq, and I met with a man named Cain. He said, what's your first name? He said, they call me Raisin, sir. I said, wait a minute, your name is Raisin Cain? I've been looking for you for a long time. You gotta be kidding. So they told me 3, 4, 5 years to defeat ISIS. And I sit down with him and I say, why is it? I flew there in the dark of night. I landed, I'll never forget it. It was quite a trip. I'm glad I made it because I met him. I said, could I ask you, General? I come down. He said, with another general and a sergeant. Everybody was like central casting. They could go into a movie right now. Between him and you guys over here, we could get rich making movies, okay? And they got along so great. That's the beautiful thing, that your military and our military, BB, got along so great. But But I was told by the television generals in Washington, we have the best equipment in the world. Why is it taking so long? And they said, 4 years. I said, so let me ask you, Raisin, how long would it take you to defeat ISIS? Sir, we can do it in 3 weeks, but you'll probably have some time left over. I said, you gotta be kidding. What the hell are you talking about? They said 4 years. I said, well, sir, look, it's not my place to say, but you're asking me the question. What you have to do is you hit him from the west, you hit him from the north, you hit him from the south, you hit him above, you hit him below. I said, so why didn't they do it? And he didn't want to speak badly of his superiors, which is hard to believe they were his superiors. Should have been the other way around a long time ago, because he's the one that did Operation Hammer. It was flawless. It was flawless. It was absolutely flawless. And I said, so you really think you can do it in 4 weeks? Yes, sir, 100%. You have to do it differently than they were doing it. They were using one base and it was hundreds of miles away. And he says, we have all these portable bases all over the Middle East. And they didn't want to use them because they didn't want to offend the country where the portable, they wouldn't have even known what the hell the planes were going up, right? They wouldn't have known, but he said, no, they didn't want to defend anybody, offend anybody. And but we can do it in 4 weeks. I said, you sure about that? I'm going to call you back. I'll call you back on Monday. I'm going back to Washington. But you think 4 weeks? Yes, sir, I think we can do it in 4 weeks. We'll have time left over. So I call him on Monday. I say, you think you can do it? 4 weeks. I said, go ahead and do it. He did it. I'll tell you, he did it in 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks. So, General, stand up, please. Again, this is a real general. This is not a television general. He doesn't want to go on television. He doesn't want to go on television. I said the other guys love being on television. So we dropped 14 bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally, as I said originally, obliterating them. And that's been confirmed, and everybody understands it. Together we stopped the #1 state sponsor of terror from obtaining the world's most dangerous weapons. And if you think about it, if we didn't do that, and assuming we made the same deal that we have today, there'd be a dark cloud over this deal. And #1, it wouldn't happen because the other Arab and Muslim nations really wouldn't feel comfortable making the deal that we have now, right? If Iran had that nuclear weapon that they were about 2 months away from having. They would have had it in 2 months or maybe less than that. They were right at, this was our last shot. They looked at it for 22 years. This was our last shot. The pilots told me that. They said, 22 years, sir, they looked at it. Our predecessors looked, they studied it. 3 times a year would do drills on that exact attack. And boy, did they get it right. But let's assume they didn't, and let's assume there was large-scale nuclear weapons in the hands of Iran. We couldn't be here today. Even if we signed the deal, which we couldn't do because a lot of people would not want to have anything to do with it, we took a big cloud off of the Middle East and off of Israel. And it was my honor to help. But it isn't it true, though, that can you imagine the same, let's assume, Bibi, the same documents, we had everything the same, but you had somebody out there that was, in the opinion of everybody, all-powerful in the Middle East. They took a big hit, didn't they? Didn't they take a big hit? Boy, oh boy. They got it from one side, from the other. And you know, it would be great if we could make a peace deal with them. And I think that's big. Would you be happy with that? Wouldn't it be nice, I think? Because I think they want to. I think they're tired. Somebody said, sir, they're starting their nuclear program again. I said, let me tell you something. They're not starting anything. They want to survive. The last thing they want to do is start digging holes again in mountains that just got blown up. and start. They're not doing this. They want to survive, okay? But I think we have a chance. Steve, you, and I think Jared, come on, I'll call you back for another one. We always bring Jared when we want to get that deal closed. We bring Jared, but Steve, you and Jared and the General and Pete and Marco, you'll get that deal done easy. I think that'll be easy. But first we have to get Russia done. We got to get that one done. If you don't mind, Steve, let's focus on Russia first, all right? We'll get it done. In Lebanon, the dagger of Hezbollah, long aimed at Israel's throat, has been totally shattered. My administration is actively supporting the new president of Lebanon in his mission to permanently disarm Hezbollah's terror brigades. He's doing very well. And build a thriving state at peace with its neighbors. And you're very much in favor of that, I know. And it's good things are happening there, really good things. And with this week's ceasefire, we've achieved the most challenging breakthrough of them all. The most challenging breakthrough maybe ever. I mean, I've never seen anything like. I've been involved in a lot of success. I have never seen anything like what's going on today all over the world. People are dancing in the streets, not just in Israel. They're dancing in the streets of countries that would have never danced in the street about what's happening today. They're dancing in those streets. So this long and difficult war has now ended. You know, some people say 3,000 years, some people say 500 years, whatever it is. It's the granddaddy of them all. And in an unprecedented achievement, virtually the entire region has endorsed the plan that Gaza will be immediately demilitarized, that Hamas will be disarmed, and Israel's security will no longer be threatened in any way, shape, or form. So Israel, with our help, has won all that they can by force of arms. You've won. I mean, you've won. Now it's time to translate these victories against terrorists on the battlefield into the ultimate prize of peace and prosperity for the entire Middle East. It's about time you were able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Mr. Opposition Leader. I said he's a very nice opposition leader. I think. No, he's a nice man. Bibi, he's a nice man. He knows what he's doing, right? No, he's a very nice guy. Well, see, now you can be a little bit nicer, Bibi, because you're not at war anymore, Bibi. But only by embracing the opportunities of this moment can we achieve our goal of ensuring that the horrors of recent years will never happen again. You don't want to have to go through this again. 8 years ago, I came to this region on a very special first trip abroad as the President of the United States. I came here very early at your request. I addressed the leaders of the Arab and Muslim world gathered in Saudi Arabia and said that it was time to build a future free of the grip of extremism and terror. And interestingly, right now, as soon as I'm finished, I'm quite late. You've kept me quite late between opposition leaders and Bibi's brilliant but very long speech. I thought I was going to run up here, make a speech, and then head to Egypt. It didn't work out, though. And you made a pretty long one, too, sir. But I liked what you all said. It could be worse. Supposing on top of it, I didn't like what you said. That would be no good, Ron, would it? Ron, you did a great job, by the way, Ron. So I'm going to be meeting, actually, in a little while, I'm going to be meeting with the most powerful, the richest nations really in the world, although now with the tariffs, the United States is by far the richest nation in the world, as you probably have been reading. But the richest nations, most powerful nations, tremendous, headed by some tremendous people in many cases. Some cases I wouldn't say necessarily I would endorse, but I will tell you some incredible people that really helped us make this all possible. So I'll be going there. I'll be quite late. They might not be there by the time I get there, but we're going to give it a shot. But the journey we started back then led to the crushing defeat of the ISIS caliphate, to the monumental Abraham Accords, and ultimately to the historic ceasefire this week, in which many of those same nations really played a very pivotal role, I have to tell you. Steve will tell you that. Jared will tell you that. Together we've shown that peace is not just a hope that we can dream about. It's a reality we can build upon day by day, person by person, and nation by nation. And because of that, the Middle East is finally ready to embrace its extraordinary potential. You have extraordinary potential in this region. It should now be clear to everyone throughout the region that decades of fomenting terrorism and extremism, jihadism and anti-Semitism have not worked. They haven't worked. They've been a disaster. They've just killed. They've killed. They've backfired completely and totally. They've just totally backfired. Everything that you thought, take it worst case, it's turned out to be worse than that. They have not worked. From Gaza to Iran, those bitter hatreds have delivered nothing but misery, suffering, failure, and death. They've served not to weaken Israel, but to annihilate the very forces that did the most to foment this hatred. And it's really, everybody that's tried it has become irrelevant. Meanwhile, we've seen those nations that set aside their differences, reached across ancient divides, and pursued engagement are now among the most successful in the region. They're getting along with Israel, and they're doing great. And I can tell you the 4 nations that joined the Abraham Accords early on, and you'd all be doing me a favor, and I'm going to be saying this in a little while to some other friends, would love you all to, is this right, Jared? Join up in the Abraham Accords. We have to join up and get together. You can have that whole thing filled out. We had a very weak administration, worst president in the history of our country by far. And Barack Obama was not far behind, by the way. And they did nothing with this incredible document, the Abraham Accords, but now you can fill them up. Now you have peace, you have people that really like Israel. I'll tell you what, and they like Israel a lot more today than they did even 5 weeks ago. You've made a lot of, you've come back. You've come back strong, because it was getting to be a little nasty out there in the world, and ultimately the world wins. You can't beat the world. I would say to Bibi, it's now time. And he understood it better than anybody, because ultimately, the world's a very big place. And I've said a lot. I said, this piece of land is very small. It's unbelievable what you've done with that tiny, you look at a map even of just, not the world, the Middle East, and you have this little dot. And think of what you've done. It's incredible. It's incredible. But the world is loving Israel again. And I said to Bibi, the world is big and it's strong. And Ron, ultimately, the world wins. And we don't have to worry about that now. But there was getting to be a period of time over the last few months, the world wanted peace and Israel wanted peace. Everybody did. Everybody did. And what a victory it's been, right? What a victory it's been. If you would have gone on for 3, 4 more years, keep fighting, it was getting bad. It was getting heated. The timing of this is brilliant. And I said, Bibi, you're going to be remembered for this far more than if you kept this thing going, kill. It would be it would not be the same. And I just want to congratulate you for having the courage to say, that's it, we've won, and now let's enjoy our lives and let's rebuild Israel and make it stronger and bigger and better than it's ever been before. We're going to do that. Took a lot of guts. And the choice for Palestinians could not be more clear. This is their chance to turn forever from the path of terror and violence. It's been extreme, to exile the wicked forces of hate that are in their midst. And I think that's going to happen. I've met some people over the last couple of months that want to see it happen very much. And after tremendous pain and death and hardship, now is the time to concentrate on building their people up instead of trying to tear Israel down. We don't want that to happen again. And the total focus of Gazans must be on restoring the fundamentals of stability, safety, dignity, and economic development so they can finally have the better life that their children really do deserve after all these decades of horror. I intend to be a partner in this effort in the sense that we're going to help and we're going to do something that became unbelievably popular. Everybody wants to be on it. It's called the Board of Peace, okay? How about that? Is that a beautiful name? Like a board of peace. The only bad thing from my standpoint, every single nation involved has asked me to be the chair, and I'll tell you, I'm very busy. I didn't count on that, but you know what? If we do it, we'll do it right. And we have unbelievable power and wealth, because you're going to need wealth. You're going to need wealth to rebuild things, and they have wealth like few people have wealth. I want to thank the Arab and Muslim nations for their commitment, because they've made to support a safe rebuilding of Gaza and beyond. I have many Arab countries, very wealthy countries, that came up and said, we'll put up tremendous amounts of money to get to rebuild Gaza. And I think that's going to happen. The power, they want dignity, they want to come forward, and they want to say, and I want to say who they are, because what they're doing is going to be, I think, something that you're going to be very impressed with, Bibi. And you need that. You need the kind of economic power that they have, and they want to see it work. And they want to see it be safe, and they want to see it be good for Israel, too. And as much money as it will be, and it's a lot, as you can see, it's a lot. For these countries, it's relatively little relative to their worth. It's really a lot of money like most people could never even conceive, but for these countries, it's not that much, especially because it ensures success and stability in the Middle East, which is what they want to see. So many of them will be with us in Egypt in a little while, I think. I'm not sure. They may be gone. They may have taken their Boeing 747s and left. I said, what kind of a plane do you fly? 747. I said, that's a large plane. No, they may have. Steve, do you think they've left on their their brand new Boeing 747s? Or, I don't know. We're going to find out soon. It's going to be a big story. There'll be 2 people left, and they'll be the 2 poorest ones. But it will be the wealthiest and most powerful group of nations. So the group that we have assembled, that's waiting for us, is the wealthiest and most powerful group ever assembled at one time. There has never been a group like this. And they're only looking for good. They want good. They're going to do good. And as those commitments are made, I'm going to let the world know who's doing it, because they really deserve to get the credit. And some of them probably won't want the credit, but they deserve it. It's more obvious than ever that the productive and responsible nations of this region should not be enemies or adversaries. You should be partners and eventually even friends, and that's what's going to happen. I know it. Together you can stand against the forces of chaos. Yeah, you go ahead. That's an important point. Because you can stand against the forces of chaos that threatened all of your interests, and it's always a big threat, and unleash incredible prosperity and opportunity for all the people of these lands, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to unleash numbers and success, the likes of which Israel has never been able to think of, because you're so firm, and you should be, and you've done the right thing in defending yourself. You're not going to have to worry so much about it. You've won, and now you can build, and you can do things that you never even thought possible. When you put that genius into doing something else, it's going to be something it's going to be a miracle. The miracle in the desert, it's going to be amazing. And it already is in a true sense. But it'll be wonderful when you can spend time thinking about other than war and defense and offense also. To that end, it's my firm hope and dream, frankly, that together the Abraham Accords will turn out to be everything that we thought they would. Those 4 countries were very, very brave in doing it. They did it at a very early point, and every single one of them benefits unbelievably financially. And if you notice, even in this bad period that we just went through, they all remained a member of the Abraham Accords. They've done unbelievably well. And you know who you are, and I want to thank you. And they've stayed because of loyalty, but they've also stayed because it was really good business. They've made a lot of money being members, and you're going to all, I hope that every one of the countries that we're seeking, Jared, I hope they join quickly. No games, no nothing. Just join, get it. It's going to be a great peacemaker. It's really going to bring it together beyond anybody's wildest dream. So instead of building fortresses to keep enemies at bay, the nations of this region should be building infrastructure to weave your commerce closer together, because you've got to compete with the big world out there in commerce now. It's a different kind of competition. Instead of making weapons and missiles, the wealth of this region should flow to schools and medicine, industry, and frankly, the new hot thing, artificial intelligence. It's a lot of intelligence you're going to have to be thrown off to pay back these sums of money that they're doing. But that's really the hot one. And I might say that the United States, a year ago, was a dead country. I say it to people. I heard it first from the King of Saudi Arabia. I then heard it from UAE. I heard it from Qatar. I heard it from many other countries. A year ago, the United States of America was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. It is the hottest. There's no question about it. In fact, if you go back a year ago, before the election, although once we had November 5th, we became hot because people got it. I would say November 5th was a time that we became really hot. But once you go back a couple of years, if I were in charge and the country was doing what they would, nobody was going to ask me to speak. Nobody asked Joe Biden to come up and speak, I guarantee you that. And if they did, he would have turned them down, I promise you. He didn't speak. He didn't speak, and he didn't speak well. But all of the countries in the Middle East, it could have, what we're doing now, it could have happened a long time ago, but it was strangled and set back almost irretrievably by the administrations of Barack Obama and then Joe Biden. There was a hatred toward Israel. There was an absolute hatred. The setbacks really started when President Obama signed the Iran nuclear deal. This was a disaster for Israel, and it was a disaster for everyone. And I remember that Bibi Netanyahu came to the United States and worked so hard to try and get Obama not to do that deal. He worked so hard. But it was like talking to a wall. I remember him telling me it was like talking to a wall. They wanted to go with Iran. They chose Iran, frankly, over a lot of other good nations, but specifically Israel. And that was the beginning of a very bad period of time. You had Obama go out and the Iran nuclear deal turned out to be a disaster. And by the way, I terminated the Iran nuclear deal, and I was very proud to do it. Yet even to Iran, whose regime has inflicted so much death on the Middle East, the hand of friendship and cooperation is open. I'm telling you, they want to make a deal. That's all I do in my life, I make deals. I'm good at it. I've always been good at it. And I know when they want. Even if they said, we don't want to make a deal, I can tell you they want to make a deal. All right, they do. They want to make a deal, and we're going to see if we can do something, because this is crazy what's happening, and we're not going to have this anymore. Neither the United States nor Israel bear the people of Iran any hostility. We merely want to live in peace. We don't want any looming threats over our heads, and we don't want to even think in terms of nuclear destruction. It's not going to happen, never will happen. There's nothing that would do more good for this part of the world than for Iran's leaders to renounce terror, stop threatening their neighbors, quit funding their
Michael Rowland and myself, Yvonne Young, will leave you here, but do keep it right here on the news channel for more with Michael Tetlow. We'll have the latest on the Israeli hostage.
ABC signing off there, but I'll keep this rolling. Trump has been speaking for a while now, but I think it's again a historic speech. He's trying to reset a lot of different things that's happening there in the Middle East. It's not just been about what's been happening, obviously, with the conflict itself. He's deviated to the overall, his vision for the Middle East, and as well as even some domestic politics in the US. But let's just let's let Trump finish it off.
Not said out of weakness. There's no weakness. But I'm going to say this, that we are ready when you are, and it will be the best decision that Iran has ever made. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're good people. I know a lot of Iranians in the United States. They're good people, smart, hardworking people. They don't want to see what's happened to their country. The story of fierce Israeli resolve and triumph since October 7th should be proof to the entire world that those who seek to destroy this nation are doomed to bitter failure. The state of Israel is strong, and it will live and thrive forever. That is why Israel will always remain a vital ally of the United States of America. Israelis share our values, field one of the world's most powerful militaries. You really do. You have an amazing, what a job you've done. And have one of the most innovative economies on earth. Those are just a few of the reasons why I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel has ever had, and they all say it. In the White House. They all say it. I guess it's true because everybody says it, baby. You said it today. Thank you. But as president, I terminated the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, and ultimately I terminated Iran's nuclear program with things called B-2 bombers. It was swift, and it was accurate, and it was a military beauty. I authorized the spending of billions of dollars, which went to Israel's defense, as you know. And after years of broken promises from many other American presidents, you know that, they kept promising. I never understood it until I got there. There was a lot of pressure put on these presidents. It was put on me too, but I didn't yield to the pressure. But every president for decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. Isn't that right, Miriam? Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam. Stand up. Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I can think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently. She's got $60 billion in the bank. $60 billion. And I think she's saying no more. And she loves Israel, but she loves it. And they would come in, and her husband was a very aggressive man, but I loved him. He was a very aggressive, very supportive of me. And he'd call up, can I come over and see you? I say, Sheldon, I'm the President of the United States. It doesn't work that way. He'd come in, we would do. But they were very responsible for so much, including getting me thinking about Golan Heights, which is probably one of the greatest things to ever happen to Israel. Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country. She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must tell you. We love you. Thank you, darling, for being here. That's a great honor. Great honor. She's a wonderful woman. She is a great woman. I've always stood for the people of this community, and I always will. I'll always be with you. I'm always going to be with you. I guess maybe something could happen to change my mind. Somebody that's really stupid gets into office and wants to do really bad things, but that's about it. We don't think we're going to have that happen. I hope we're not going to have that happen. And this man is a good man right here. These two men are good men right here. Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon.
Oh, my God.
Come on. By the way, that was not in the speech, as you probably know. But I happen to like this gentleman right over here, and it just seems to make so much sense. You know, whether we like it or not, this has been one of the greatest wartime presidents. This has been one of the greatest wartime presidents. And cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about that? All right, enough controversy for the day, right? It's actually, I don't think it's very controversial. So, you know, I mean, I see so popular. You are a very popular man. You know why? Because you know how to win. Over the past 2 years, I've met many of the families of the Israelis taken hostage and those that were taken hostage. Unbelievable. I've looked into their eyes. I've seen the worst nightmares of their suffering, but I've also seen something else, the beautiful love of the people, the love of people, frankly, that hold things together, the love that gives you the courage to carry on through thousands of years of persecution and repression, and to emerge with the heart of David. It's the heart of David. It's that love that's defeated the enemies of civilization, built this incredible country and this unbelievable economy, and forged one of the great democracies of the world. That is why it's a true honor to stand here today and address this assembly in your ancient and eternal now capital, Jerusalem. I'm proud to have helped in that regard. This city and this nation stand as living proof that a much brighter future for this entire region is truly within our grasp. For thousands of years, Jerusalem has been a home to Christians, Jews, Muslims, and people of all ethnicities and creeds. This is the holy center of the world's three great Abrahamic faiths. I like that too. Adorned, it's the first time I've seen that word in a while. Adorned with their sacred sites and alive with their pilgrims and visitors from every corner of the globe. But here between the Western Wall, the Temple Mount, and the hill called Calvary, people of every faith and background live, work, pray, serve, and raise their families side by side, and they do it with love. This example is just one of the modern miracles that Israel has given to the world. And just in closing, the leaders in this chamber know better than anyone else the challenges of this harmony, and it's been easily won. No, it hasn't. It has not been. It's been so tough, but it has been, some say, a miracle. What you've done is a miracle. Look at your size. Look at your chances when it all started. And you know, if you think about it, you are safer today, stronger today, and more respected today than at any time in the history of Israel. Think of it. People used to say it wouldn't exist. They don't say that anymore, do they? Yet if safety, security, and coexistence can thrive here in the winding alleys and ancient paths of Jerusalem, then surely peace and respect can flourish among the nations of the broader Middle East. The God who once dwelled among his people in this city still calls us, in the words of Scripture, the turn from evil and do good, to seek peace and pursue it. So he still whispers truth into the hills and knolls and valleys of his magnificent creation, and he still writes hope into the hearts of his children all over the world. And that is why even after 3,000 years of pain and conflict, the people of Israel have never given up from the threats of Zionism, from all sorts of threats. You want the promise of Zion. You want the promise of success and hope and love and God. And the people of America have never lost faith in the promise of a great and blessed future for all of us. From the very first day that modern Israel was founded, we have stood together through thick and thin of setbacks, and through victory and defeat, through glory and heartache. We have built industries together. We have made discoveries together. We have confronted evil together, and we have waged war together. And perhaps most beautifully of all, we have made peace together. And this week, against all odds, we have done the impossible and brought our hostages home. So now we're going to forge a future that is worthy of our heritage. We're going to build a legacy that all the people of this region can be proud of. New bonds of friendship, cooperation, and commerce will join Tel Aviv to Dubai, Haifa to Beirut, Jerusalem to Damascus, and from Israel to Egypt, from Saudi Arabia to Qatar, from India to Pakistan, from Indonesia to Iraq, from Syria to Bahrain, Turkey to Jordan, the United Arab Emirates to Oman, and Armenia to Azerbaijan, another war that I just settled. We are going to have hope, harmony, opportunity, and happiness here in the spiritual and geographic center of the entire world. That's what you are. Israel, America, and all of the nations of the Middle East will soon be safer, stronger, greater, and more prosperous than ever before. And I want to thank you all once again for this exceptional honor. This has been truly an honor. It's seldom that a president is invited to do this. And I love Israel. I'm with you all the way. You will be bigger, better, stronger, and more loving than ever before. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the Middle East. Thank you, everybody. Good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Finally finished, guys. That was a long speech. It went through many different things. It's actually very late now in Australia. I was like, oh, maybe he'll speak for like 40 minutes, you know. I didn't think it would be this long, but it was a very long speech. And I guess the takeaways is the fact that he is making very definitive statements about the end of the conflict, about disarming Hamas, saying that they will be disarmed in Gaza. Obviously, he's heading over to Egypt right after this to a meeting or a summit with Arab leaders, Middle Eastern leaders, as well as I'm hearing that Benjamin Netanyahu may be going there as well as Mohammed Abbas from the West Bank, so for Palestinian Authority. So it's very interesting times. Trump is looking at this as a massive reset to the whole region of the Middle East. Obviously, the biggest thing that's being discussed today is the phase one of this negotiated peace deal through Trump, which is the release of the hostages. So I think all the hostages which were alive and being held in the Hamas tunnels in Gaza have been...
In these crowds cheering today, some incredible scenes. Just bring us up to date on what's happening there.
These the hostages, the alive ones, have been all returned to Israel. So Hamas has handed them over to the Red Cross. The Red Cross then has facilitated the handover to the IDF, and now they are either with their families or in hospitals throughout the country of Israel. So that was a massive, major thing, right? The release of the hostages, the alive ones. Obviously, there's dead hostages being held in the territory of Gaza at the moment as well, which is a part of this phase as well. We've also seen footage of buses or vans being moved from Israel into Gaza with prisoners that were held in Israel, so Palestinians. So there is that trade that's happening. So that's kind of the major news story in terms of what happened today. But obviously, Trump has made this trip to Israel. He's speaking at the Knesset. He was awarded the highest honor of the Israeli nation. I believe he's the first foreigner to receive that, if I remember correctly from the speech. And he received the longest standing ovation, apparently in the history of the Israeli parliament. So they are really putting all the honors and the gratitude and the thanks of the Israeli nation onto the hands of Trump. You heard speeches from Benjamin Netanyahu thanking Trump, and then obviously we listened to Donald Trump himself talking about the achievements of Israel, the achievements of the IDF, congratulating them for their victory in this particular conflict, congratulating them for disarming Iran and other regional terroristic threats like Hezbollah. So he went through that whole list. And, he's really looking at this as a reset for the Middle East. So let's see what happens when he goes to Egypt. Obviously, I'm not going to stay on this stream until he does the speech from there. That is, I think, the most telling part of where we're going to see this shifting, how the Arab world responds to this. And, there's a lot of big leaders who are stated to come to that particular summit in Egypt. So, really, I think that will kind of tell you how they're looking at rebuilding Gaza as well as disarming Hamas, because those things still have to happen. But it is a great, end of something in the sense of we've been speaking about the hostages and, of course, the conflict and the death of innocent civilians as well that's been occurring in the Gaza Strip as a result of this conflict. But at least the resolution of the hostage situation is coming to a close. and there'd be a lot of relieved people around the world seeing the scenes that we're seeing. Obviously, there'll be a lot of dissection and playing back and replays and little snippets of Trump's speech, and people trying to understand exactly what he means and what he's saying. That'll happen throughout the course of the next 24, 48 hours as the news breaks around the world and people start analyzing what all of this means. Now, there is a lot of people who are skeptical and saying that, again, this is all going to blow over, there's going to be war again, and all these kind of things. I think we just got to give someone like Trump a chance. We have not seen a world leader like Trump previously. I don't believe so. I think Trump is owed a great deal of thanks, I think, from the world, because a lot of these issues, I spoke about it earlier, we were talking about Lydia Thorpe, but just in general, the issues that are happening in the Middle East, especially with Israel and Gaza, they spilled out all over the world, and we've had disharmony here, right at home in Australia, in Melbourne, Victoria especially, all types of issues with social cohesion, that word that we talk about a lot these days. But it's true, those things have impacted us, right? And if this is somewhat of an end to a lot of those issues, at least in the bigger context of what's been happening in that conflict, which is the death of innocents and the holding of hostages. Yes, there are other issues that people are going to talk about and argue about, and I get that from both sides. And we saw a protest as well during Trump's speech. I actually go to that footage because I saved it. Let me just bring up that footage, because people might be wondering what that disruption was. And that was actually members of the Knesset, so members of parliament in Israel. I think one was a Arab Israeli and another one was like a left-wing Jewish Israeli that's kind of against the war and has certain views. And this is any kind of political institution. It's not a security failure as such. It's more so, obviously, all the members of the parliament are permitted to be in the parliament to listen to Donald Trump speaking. Two of them at least took that opportunity to protest while Donald Trump was speaking. It is no different to how, for instance, Lydia Thorpe had a rant when the King of England and the head of our state, King Charles, was here in Australia. But let's just have a look at this scene here, because people might be wondering what happened. So 2 members of the Knesset, 2 politicians, protested during Trump's speech, and they were efficiently moved out, which Trump commented on afterwards. Let's have a listen in.
Everybody loves Steve, and they respect him, and they somehow can relate to him. I've known him for many years, and I've seen it over and over again.
Please expel this Knesset member. Please expel this Knesset member. Knesset member Kasif out of the hall. Please expel him immediately.
Sorry for that, Mr. President.
That was very efficient.
I'm pretty sure Trump would like to see some of the Democrats thrown out like that when they try to cause all types of scenes. This is commonplace. I saw some people saying, some protesters got into security failure, all these kind of things. No, these are members of the Knesset, members of the Israeli parliament, left-wing members, or, they have different political views. They're opposed to Benjamin Netanyahu, most likely, and they're also opposed to Donald Trump. So they took this opportunity on the world stage to have their little theatrics of a protest, and they were efficiently kicked out by the Speaker of the House, and Donald Trump commended them for saying it was very efficiently. And I agree with him, because we do have these whack jobs here in Australia as well. I was talking about one of these whack jobs a little bit earlier in our senator here, Lydia Thorpe. Same story, right? But so that was kind of the only disruption during Trump's speech. The one note is they did go for a long time, and he did go into some US politics as well. So Donald Trump, I don't know if he went off script or if it was a part of his script, he used this opportunity to really drive home the fact that he's been a much better or much different leader to his predecessors in Biden and Obama, and the disastrous relationship they've had, not only with Israel, but also in the Middle East, and blaming them for some of the issues that we're having, namely Iran. And Donald Trump went on to say that, the USA, especially under his leadership, has neutralized the threat of Iran. And that is one of the reasons that he's been able to get this new relationships with the rest of the Arab world, rest of the Middle East, and even get to this point in this particular peace deal because of the threat of Iran hanging around in the background like a bad smell is no longer there. They've been effectively neutralized by his Operation Midnight Hammer. There's a lot of congratulations in terms of commending the US forces for their actions against Iran when they bombed the nuclear facilities, as well as Trump himself thanking the IDF and congratulating the IDF on their way that they've carried out this particular victory, according to Trump. So, yeah, that's what's happening there. I guess, again, it feels like a massive moment in terms of what we've been talking about over the past 2 years, that there is some type of end, at least the civilian, all the gruesome stuff that we'd see all the time when you have a war happening. And war is very brutal. Added to that, we had the hostages. Now that's kind of been settled, as tragic as it all is, because there's still hostages which are being held who are dead. They will be returned as well, depending on how all that kind of process works out. I believe some of the bodies still have to be found or located and moved across, but I believe that's happening. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of the commentary that I've heard. And then all the alive hostages have now been returned to Israel. I feel like I'm repeating myself a few times, but I just want to kind of drive home those points. But thank you guys for joining in on this show, Rukshan On X. It's not really how I planned to do the show. I thought the speeches will be short, but it was interesting, no doubt, to kind of watch that with you guys, see your comments as well. And a lot of people have mixed views. And someone was like, "Oh, why are you just playing the ABC?" Well, I didn't want to cut into it, right? I just wanted to give a stream of the speech. It wasn't accepting the commentary of mainstream media and playing what the ABC was saying. We're listening to Donald J. Trump and listening to his speech. Now, I could have got that from the Israeli media, whatever it is. I just used public broadcasting media here in Australia because we are forced to pay for it, right? It is a service that you watching, if you're watching in Australia, and myself are forced to pay for. So I have no problem using the ABC footage to talk about it in this context of discussing news for the purposes of understanding news. So that's why I use the ABC. But yeah, guys, let me read some of your comments. I got 2 super chats here as well from Anthony Madison, who says Trump's fault. Anthony, you don't disappoint. I don't know how you end up on every single stream at some point. You blame Trump and you give a super chat. I know you're doing it in jest, mate, but thank you for the support for the show. And yes, like all the left-wing people and like those 2 Israeli parliamentarians, it's Trump's fault somehow. But I feel like Trump continues to show the world, despite all the negative coverage related to him, and despite even people not giving him credit for this, if, as people were saying, right, as if the detractors of Trump, the detractors against Israel that don't, that say that, the alleged genocide and make all these claims, well, Trump has effectively, if you look at the scenes coming out of both the regions right now in Israel and in Gaza, there is a difference happening right now, right? Yes, there might be some infighting within Gaza between mobs and warlords and Hamas, whatever that's happening. Of course, that's also an issue that's going to have to be dealt with at some point. But if you look at the actual, if it was as claimed to be, well, Trump has stopped that to a large extent. And I think he should be commended for that, if you believe those things. But of course, these people hate Trump regardless. They have Trump derangement syndrome. So regardless of whatever he does, right, they have Trump derangement syndrome. So they hate him. I wish Trump the best in terms of his mission now when he goes to Egypt, to get these Arab leaders and Muslim leaders on side to rebuild that region, to change the trajectory of that region, to make it a place where it's peaceful, where they can have commerce and economics with the rest of the world, like with Australia and other countries in the rest of the world, where it's not a place founded on a lot of terroristic ideals, right? Hatred of the West, right? Those things really do have to change. And I hope that Trump, at least in the next couple of years, can manage to make that a part of his legacy as well, because that would be transformative for the rest of the world. And if anyone can do it, I believe it's President Trump. He's the right man at the right moment. So yeah, he could have maybe done it a bit earlier if he didn't rig the 2020 election, like he said, right? I agree with him. I agree with what he's saying. We've been set back a little bit, but I believe he's in a position now to really make a difference in the world. And, we should all get behind someone like that, because we don't always have leaders working in the best interests of the world as well. And I think, he may joke about the Nobel Peace Prize and, have a bit of fun with all of that, but I think he truly deserves it. If he manages to pull something like that off, he truly deserves it. So he's put a lot of weight behind it. He's put his name on it. Obviously, if something goes wrong, people are going to criticize him for it, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. But as far as we can see, Trump has put his name to all of this. He's said things very definitively. He's said things very definitively to Bibi as well in the parliament there in front of everyone, right? He told him to stop fighting, and it's about time that you work towards peace. So it's been very definitive. Remains to be seen what happens, but I think we need to get behind someone like Trump, because things do have to change, and we need to have a time for peace. As Netanyahu said, there's a time for war, there's a time for peace, and I think we have to enter this time of peace. Equity, thanks for the super chat. Nobody thanked Albo for isolating Hamas. Yes, I've seen the comments, Equity, from the Penny Wong and Albanese trying to take credit for all of this. It's complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. A lot of this work is being done by the Americans. Yes, some thanks have also been given to the British by Witkoff, the lead hostage negotiator, for being able to, I think, secure some of the relationship type things with some of the Arab and Middle East partners, because you have to put some sort of pressure on these relationships to get these outcomes. Trump talked about using his little tariff stick and economic agreements, and just kind of pushing that side of things that many people might choose not to do based on the types of countries he's dealing with. But I think he's looking beyond all of that. He's trying to understand these countries for what they are, see them as some type of regional economical partner that we could perhaps work with, the US, I'm saying, and the West, and just work towards prosperity. Because at the end of the day, everyone should be able to live in peace and make the most of their lives, regardless of where you live. And the Middle East, for a long time, okay, you can blame the West for some of this as well, has had issues of not being stable. It's been an unstable part of the world for a very long time. You think Middle East, you think war, and that's the problem. So if Trump can change that, I want to wish him the best in trying to do all of that. Guys, yeah, Hippie says he did not mention Albo and Penny. That's right. Albanese is a small fry in all of this. Again, guys, thanks for joining in. I'll probably spend the next 10 minutes just going through your comments and responding to some comments. Put some new comments as well. I'm sorry if I've missed all your previous comments as I'm going through this show. David, who always watches my streams, says that he is going to deport me. Yes, David, keep working. Keep wasting your time on that endeavor, if that is what you want to spend your time doing. Trump meets Albo the day after the next march for Australia. Is he meeting him on the 20th, is he? That'll be a very interesting meeting. Maybe we'll live stream. I don't know what time that meeting is happening, but maybe we'll live stream that day and watch the meeting together and discuss what happens. Because I do feel like Trump, if he's meeting him in a situation where you've seen Trump meet other world leaders, right? And I can just imagine him meeting Anthony Albanese and spending a few minutes, Trump this is, just giving it to him, right? Or talking about Australia off the cuff and highlighting some of the issues that we've had in our country. And I hope he does that. And I hope he brings up issues around free speech. Because Albanese needs to be called out. We have all sorts of issues in this country. And it's kind of sad that it takes like Donald Trump, an American leader, to call some of those things out. And we might get offended by it, saying, well, it's none of his business. But we do have a bit of an authoritarian, left-wing communist style, right? Even if these things don't all match up, that kind of style government that's just running roughshod over Australians at the moment. And we might need a powerful man in terms of the presidential status that Donald Trump holds as a world leader to call out Albanese to his face, right? He avoids it as much as possible, but when Trump calls him out in that environment, I think it'll be a good thing for Australia. What do you think? Britt says, I love how Trump takes every opportunity in his speeches to mention how useless Biden was. Yeah, I mean, he makes a point of it. It's not because I don't think it's because he's sour about it. I think he's just like, yeah, he was like just an idiot. Like Biden was obviously there's obviously things wrong with Biden. Like, how dumb was everyone not to see that and then pretend like it was normal, right? That's what a lot of people did. They pretended like it was a normal thing to have a person, like a president, that wasn't all there and other people were making all the decisions. Trump always famously brings up the auto pen. So yeah, I think whatever chance Trump gets, he will have a go at Biden and Obama. Alwyn says, what more can you do for the Nobel Prize? I don't know. They were talking about they want to give it to people of integrity and courage. This is the Nobel Committee. They were talking about this because someone asked them, why didn't you award Donald Trump? But I mean, if you look at it, even if you look at all of Trump's flaws, like, yeah, humans are flawed, people are flawed, leaders are flawed. They're not going to be perfect. But if you look at everything that Trump has managed to do over the last, I think, how long has it been? Since January, so 10 months, something like this. It's been quite amazing. 9 months, around that time. So it's been quite amazing. So I think no other leader has done as much as Trump has done, right? And especially on this particular issue, because this is an issue that's been hurting all the world, especially the people in Israel and Gaza. Tika says Egypt who refused Gazans. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see now that, you know, there's kind of a different status happening in terms of what's going on in Gaza itself. Will Egypt open up their border? You know, they've had it locked down. They've limited movement. They have a massive border wall as well with Gaza. Will they change their tune now? I don't know. No one really wants to talk too much about that. The Arab world, the Middle Eastern world doesn't want to get into too much detail around Egypt's role in all of this. But that is where the meeting is happening with all the Arab leaders. This is from Zach Yorsi. Avi chased that broccoli-headed ABC boy. Yeah, I played that video earlier, so you guys can go watch that. Avi confronted the ABC journalist that's working in Israel at the moment, the correspondent. He was at the hostage square in Tel Aviv, and Avi Yemeni from Rebel News caught up with him, and the ABC reporter kind of did a bit of a runner. But Avi was persistent. I think it's a good video. It's doing pretty, in terms of virality, it's getting around a lot. I've just seen it on social media. And, you know, we have I was going to say a love-hate relationship with ABC, but I think a lot of people these days have a hate-hate relationship with the ABC, and they've really let the public down in terms of being a neutral broadcaster. Because, like I mentioned earlier in the show, it's very different when you have a publicly funded media network that is paid for by the taxpayer. You expect some type of coverage of both sides, but the ABC tends to be very left-wing, far left at times as well, and they're very deceptive in the way that they present their news, so it's good that they're called out. Tracy, thanks for joining in the show tonight. I've seen a lot of your comments come through. You said, I live in Halborn, it's cooked. So yeah, someone did say something about sending in the National Guard, if Trump can send the National Guard into Melbourne. It does feel like that sometimes. One of the stories I missed out on doing today, because just how time's gone, is the Victoria Police shake-up. I'll probably save that for my show on Wednesday. So there's a bit of changes happening to Victoria Police. They're taking people out of the office and putting them onto the streets, I believe, to deal with the crime wave. So we'll talk about that on the next show. S says to donate Lydia to Gaza. I don't know if the Gazans would want Lydia Thorpe there. 1984 punks. I don't know if you're speaking in jest, but you say Rukshan has very thoughtful insights. Zach, I wish every night was midnight hammer night. It's funny. Where is the Cossack? Where is the Aussie Cossack? I believe he's still in the hold up in the Russian embassy in Sydney. 1984 Punk says, I love Israel, but not Trump. Dean Adams says, Hamas not releasing dead bodies. Look, I believe it's a part of the deal. It's meant to happen. I think from memory, I can't remember how many there were. I think 20-something, 28 maybe, dead bodies, and then the 20 live hostages. I saw the figure just before. But I did hear in some commentary that not all the bodies were like 100% like in the hands of Hamas yet, or some of them are, or there's a different process that they're doing for that. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about bodies which have been kept in all the cases actually for 2 years, 700 something days in Gaza, which is in itself is a sick thought. Like the fact that the hostages, like humans, were like these kind of bargaining chips that they were using, these terrorists. That is kind of a very sick, deranged type of force that you're dealing with. But President Trump, like we've been discussing, has managed to secure at least 20 of them alive. I mean, that in itself is a miracle if you consider how they've been held captive there in those conditions in tunnels. And we've seen all the photos of them and how they look, and it's just disgusting when you think about it all. Thanks, Tanya. Thanks for watching. David is going to personally deport you, Rukshan. Yeah, he's been saying it for like years now. He's been following my Facebook for years now, and he's been talking about deporting me for like at least 4 or 5 years, and he's not managed to do anything, David. I think he's just wasting his life. Reject Digital Ice says, sorry guys, it's 5:30 a.m. here where I am. I need to get some sleep. I've been awake since 9 a.m. yesterday. I have loved watching as usual, and great job as always, Rukshan. Mate, get some good rest. I don't know what time you got to wake up for work or whatever else you're doing in your life, but yeah, that's a very late morning. I've done that a few times, and especially on days like this where you're watching these kind of streams, it goes to a while. I think it's a historic day of sorts, regardless of what people may say. Brit, Nay, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the support, and thank you for joining in the conversation today. Rukshan, rather than interrupting the stream, it's more interesting and entertaining to read them later in a way that you are doing now. Yeah, I think so as well. See, the opportunity that I had this time was to be able to bookmark some of the comments that you guys are making. And then, because obviously Donald Trump spoke for so long, it gave me an opportunity to read the comments. Normally, when I'm just by myself here doing these streams, talking to the camera, it's really hard for me to actually just see the chat as well and see what you guys are saying. I've got to always go up and read it. But I get you. I should take breaks throughout the show maybe, or maybe a mid break and a break at the end to read some of the comments. But I do like reading comments while I'm doing the story as well, because it gives me some interesting points to discuss. It's almost like someone there assisting you with your homework and giving you ideas when you're talking about things. Because even if you might not believe me, but I do zero preparation for this show besides just picking out some of the stories that I've been following throughout the day. So there's no kind of pre-planning, there's no producer, there's nothing. It's just me, the camera, you guys, and the articles and the video, and then I just kind of talk about it. There's no teleprompters, there's nothing. It's just like raw as it is. I don't know if I do a good job, I don't know, but there's some of you guys watching and joining in, so it gives me encouragement to continue on and hopefully improve as time goes on. And I think I have, over the last couple of years, especially the last few months doing these streams, managed to find my a bit of a rhythm, is what I'm trying to say. Brittany says, I hope Trump mentions free speech issues in Australia. So Brittany's referring to Trump meeting Albanese in a few weeks. So that, yeah, definitely. I hope he does mention that. Equity says ABC hates us. Yeah, I think they have a disdain for the Australian public. Like, they think they know better than everyone else. Like, the small group, the select group of individuals that end up working at the ABC through their DEI programs, they think they know better than the rest of us. And they're literally getting billions of dollars from us to tell us how to live our lives and the things that we should think about and the narratives that we should follow, without giving a balanced perspective, right? That's the problem. Because I know, like, it should be a voluntary thing, maybe a voluntary contribution that the public, if you want to choose to fund the broadcast, you can. But because it's like almost no choice in any of this, they should be giving multiple political, ideological sides, but they don't. It's very left-wing. Yeah. To my point, Zach says ABC needs to pay my tax money back. Martina, I think she's criticizing me, says selective disgust. No, it's not selective disgust. We don't support terrorism. Terrorism has no place. A lot of what has happened in that particular conflict lies at the feet of terrorists. That is the Western outlook. That is the way that we think. You might not think in that particular way, but as a member of Western society, I hold the terrorists responsible. And yes, we can discuss issues like war crimes. Definitely, war crimes happen during conflicts. We've seen Australia be accused of war crimes. We've seen the US be accused of war crimes in the Middle East. I'm not discounting that these type of things happen, and those are also disgusting acts. But if you want to talk about the people responsible, I think the people that have the most responsibility in this particular instance are Hamas, and they should be held accountable. And I think the US, now that the hostages have been all sent back to Israel, the alive ones and the dead ones will be gotten at some point. I hope the Arab world, the Middle East there, holds them accountable and changes the outlook for the people there, the innocent people there in Gaza, and gives them a functioning government of sorts, a functioning leadership that doesn't lead them to the path of war, where they get utterly defeated in this manner. And the people that pay the highest price are innocent civilians, right? We have inefficient government here in Australia. We have Albanese. We have these people leading us, and they make crappy decisions all the time. Thank God those decisions don't necessarily lead to our deaths, right? As people, as citizens who can't really control what happens too much, we can vote and so on. Same thing applies to when you have a terrorist leadership, right? Hamas are not innocent, right? If we complain about Albanese here in Australia, well, yeah, you can complain about Hamas, the terrorist forces that the people there apparently voted for. They bear the responsibility of what happens to their people. And I hold them accountable the same way that I hold Albanese and these type of people accountable who are my government. And ultimately, if you want to go into a war with a much more powerful nation, supported by a country like the USA, and you want to kidnap people and hold hostages, there's going to be consequences. And this is the part of effing around and finding out. This is what happens in war. And I don't make any apologies for my views on that. This is the consequences. This is the natural consequences. This is like people getting the Darwin Award. And, they're running around today claiming that they got a victory as well. Well, if the victory is sacrificing so many of your citizens for what changed now? What's changed? What's changed? You got Israel on the border. They're going to have a bigger buffer zone. You got people coming in from the Middle East, other countries coming in now to your land. They're going to control certain aspects of what happens in your future. What kind of victory is that? It seems ridiculous. All right, guys, 5 more minutes of reading some comments, and then A says censored. I'm not sure exactly what's censored. I'm not censoring anything. Martina says, you sound naive and gullible. No, I'm not naive and gullible. This is a reality of the world. I come from a part of the world. We had a civil war where my heritage is from in Sri Lanka. 250,000 people died during an ethnic civil war. Same issue over legitimacy of claims to certain lands and things like this. And, the cessation of fighting is the real victory for innocent civilians, not the continuation of wars by politicians or certain leaders, whether they be terrorists or governments. When fighting stops and you can kind of find a common ground and people can live together, it is a more peaceful resolution, and you have to be able to move on. Civil war and ethnic fights and ethnic battles is not a new thing. This has been happening for thousands of years. We settle them differently in today's modern world, and we have certain views and standards, but they've been happening for a long time. And I'm not saying that makes it okay, but it's the reality of the world. And if you want to start a war, you want to fight over land, you want to fight over who owns this and who has rights to this, well, sometimes it's, the fighting happens with bombs and weapons. And yeah, it's just the reality of life. If you want to start some battle, and you know, you want to kidnap people, take them over your border or whatever, and you think you can win that victory. What happened? Who came to support Hamas from that region? Where were all the Arab countries? I remember when this first started, all the Arab nations around there were putting up videos of their military and what they're going to do and how they're going to come and do things. They didn't do shit. No one came. No one helped them. Those terrorists, like literally, like even the ones that did try to help Hezbollah and stuff, they got their asses handed to them as well. It was just a complete mess, a complete miscalculation. And at the end of the day, it was made by a few select group of people overseas in Qatar and places like this, hiding out in bunkers, and innocent civilians died. And usually happens in all wars, right? There's no winners really at the end of the day when so many people die. Yeah, you might not like the end result of it, but did you really think that Israel and the United States of America together would walk away from this worse off? I didn't think so, especially against those individuals. And when I saw Iran get bombed and get their asses handed to them as well, and cower away, then the whole thing was over. As far as any type of resistance, it was just a prolonging of the inevitable, and that's what's happened today. And it's a good thing that it's come to some type of end, and it wouldn't have happened without Donald J. Trump, President Trump. So thanks to President Trump. Thanks again, guys. Good to have you all here today. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Obviously, Wednesday, we won't have massive live streams to play as we're doing the show. And we can kind of go through news more easily and maybe even discuss some of the fallout from all of this. But yeah, probably going to give it one more minute and then I'm going to shut off the stream. So we'll let the comments play for a little bit. I'm actually pretty wrecked. I started this at 9 o'clock. It's now 11:50, so almost midnight. Is Trump your Lord and Savior? No, my Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ. But in terms of worldly men that are making a difference, I believe Donald Trump is. Point to me other Western leaders who are being as consequential as someone like Donald Trump is right now in the things which are happening in the world. You'll be very hard pressed to find people like that. You'll find a lot of weak men. You'll find the Keir Starmers, the Macrons, the Albaneses, the Carneys in the West I'm talking about that stand for absolutely nothing. That's the kind of men that you'll find. People like Donald Trump, yes, they're a bit rough around the edges, but they have conviction in what they're trying to do. And they might not always get it right, but they can tell you exactly why they're trying to do those things. And they're happy to be judged on that. And I think that's what you kind of expect. Or that's the least you can expect from people leading us. Ekwidi, thanks for the super chat again, mate. Great show, mate. You appreciate it. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks, Trey. I hope you're doing well, mate. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Baseline Benny. All right, guys. I kind of don't want to end the show because I just had so much fun doing it. I hope you've enjoyed the new format. I hope you enjoyed the new mic. I hope you enjoyed all these different cool screens that I have now. I can go flick to this. I can flick to news articles, right? I can flick to TV. We can get live stuff from the TV, probably just the ABC, right? And we can have the different news layouts as well, so I look a little bit more professional. Look at this. And I'm doing all of this without the massive budget of the ABC, right? From my bedroom. So I appreciate any assistance you do via super chats. But honestly, the best thing that you can do to help this show is to, obviously, if you're not already, like, follow, and subscribe on my platform. So on X, YouTube, and Facebook, Instagram as well. You can find me there at The Real Rukshan, and get the word out. Watch the shows, comment, join in. That always helps. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. No opposition podcast tomorrow, as far as I know, because Avi Yemeni's in Israel at the moment, so he's probably doing some live streams. If there's some sort of major news, I might do a stream tomorrow, but I don't know. I don't think so. But definitely, I'll be back on Wednesday with Rukshan On X. So I'll see